OMI trading volume has been 8 to 10 million per day, and yet price hasn't been moving since the big pump last month. So why is volume up, but the price isn't moving yet? Also, DC's digital comic presence has moved from Palm Studios to Candy Digital, but then Candy Digital was acquired by Futureverse. But might DC turn to VeVe for a more stable future? Active users on VeVe are still often below 1,000 daily users. How can VeVe break to the upside? Also, what is up with the VeVe collectible pricing strategy? A little bit of that was discussed last week. Does it need some tweaking? We'll share our thoughts and feelings. Welcome to the Crypto Rain channel and our family. Now, today is a special OMI's My Homie edition, joined by my amazing co-hosts. Before we get started, I want to share a little bit about why this podcast. I grew up poor in life, actually too poor for Kool-Aid. We had to buy the cheap generic Flavor Aid. And I realized that money allows us options in life. And after a few months of being in crypto, which I started 8 years ago, I recognized there was the most amazing, massive potential for financial gains that will change your life completely. And I'd been waiting for this chance my whole life. After 8 years, I know that crypto can and will change your finances and your life, but only if you do it right. And I learned that 89% of people in crypto don't make meaningful money or flat out lose money. And I didn't want to be part of that. And another 6% of people, they made money, but just a little. And really only 5% of crypto investors make life-changing gains that take them to the lifestyle we dreamed of. So I focused 100% of everything I had figuring out what those 5% did. And I just copied the hell out of it. And that's a lot of what I share on this channel. This OMI is My Homie special edition is with Doctor of Stuff and Randy. And we're going to talk primarily about digital collectibles, OMI, and maybe a little bit about the general crypto market. But let's welcome my co-hosts. What is up, gentlemen?
What up? What up?
Well, hello, friendos. How are y'all doing?
Amazing. Funny, you know, we were looking at the volume on OMI and how like OMI's kind of chugging along on volume, but it's actually in this trend that probably there's a 2/3 chance it's going to break to the upside from that, but it's still actually just kind of moving in this trend. Have you guys been following the price action?
A little bit. More just the volume, which I'm not concerned with. I guess and again, kind of nitpicking here, very thankful for the volume because that's what you need to get on the bigger exchanges. That's what everyone wants. But it's when we were having 400,000 a day to 1 million a day, it's like, okay, if we can just like get the volume up, the price will go up. And yeah, that's been true. 6 weeks ago, we were at, I don't know, 0.0018, 19. And we had hit 1.7 at one point. And the volume has gone up, but the price hasn't gone up at a commensurate rate. It's doubled, but it's when the price action doubles, but the volume goes like 9x. Is that the ratio? Is that like when we go another 9x to 81 million, do we only double again to 0.0064? Because I feel like at that much volume, you should probably get a bit more. Like, for example, like DeLorean, they usually have like 10, 13 million in volume a day, but they have like a 10 to 13 million dollar market cap. I feel like some companies, or at least crypto companies, the volume in which they have, that's usually the market cap of what they have. I'm just kind of worried that there's only so much volume we can get and the price action just isn't there. Am I worrying about nothing?
Well, the trading volume will not determine the price because that does mean that there are buyers, but that also means now that we've hit this price level that some people may have bought down here and they're like trying to take their profits, but most likely it's people that bought going down and they're like, this is good enough, I'm going to bail out. And so as much as there's lots more people buying right now, there's an increased number of sellers. So it's in this battle right now as to whether it will break to the upside or not. But usually when we see this kind of flag like this, after having broken to the upside, it usually continues to the upside 2 out of 3 times. So there's no guarantees in price analysis. There's just probabilities. The probabilities that this is a flag and breaks the upside are decent, but no guarantees. Now, as a huge OMI holder myself, even if it broke to the upside, that means very little to me, because the environment I'm looking to sell in is when everybody and their dog is talking about digital collectibles. When everyone's like, oh my gosh, have you seen this app on your phone, VeVe, and you can buy these digital collectibles? And have you seen this? Oh my gosh, I just bought $2,000 of these collectibles. That's an indicator that if I haven't started selling already, to be selling, not just my OMI, but my collectibles. And that's what I wait for as an investor. I buy when the panic is huge and everyone's complaining about how terrible it is, and OMI is dead and VeVe is dead and they're never going to survive. And this was an amazing, too good to be too true price. And most people, granted, do not think this way. We are counter trading what 95% of people do. But that's exactly what the 5% of people that make life-changing gains in crypto do on projects that are showing great signs of life and a good potential for a future. And as much as some people say VeVe is dead, the substance behind their argument is baseless. Like, in what ways is VeVe dead? They have incoming revenues. They have lots of things going on. New IP. They are the most stable digital collectibles blockchain project that I'm aware of. They're not even close to debt. But sometimes people think because the price action looks like this, therefore the token is dead because the price has gone down. So therefore VeVe is dead. And that's just a naive argument. Just because the price has gone down like that, that does not mean the token is dead. That just means bear market, and specifically altcoins are punished, and the digital collectibles narrative hasn't run in a long time, and that's reflecting it in that price action. Doesn't mean the underlying company is dead. Quite to the contrary. Underlying company is pretty strong. With that said, let's talk about Palm NFT to Candy Digital to Futureverse. What is going on with DC Comics? And do you think VeVe makes a pickup here and gets DC Comics on their space?
I want to know what you think, Randy, first.
Oh.
Yes.
I looked pretty deep into, well, I shouldn't even say that deep, a bunch of surface level stuff on Twitter, because they shut off comments on their both Candy and Futureverse had shut off comments on their stuff, and so did the guy that was, I think, behind it. So you look at the quotes. Okay, what did the quote tweet say? And a lot of it is, hey, we had this, we were told X, Y, and Z from you guys. You guys promised all this, you didn't deliver. And you had a good percentage of people, 15%, say like the rug is finally complete. And it's like, I know I've seen this before where people say this about VeVe, and it's like, how much of it is I don't want to say incompetence, because you could, even in like the medical field, you can do everything right and the patient still dies. In business, you could have a solid business plan. You could have, like, they had the money to buy Candy, but they just either overspent or they raised and they just, chickens came home to roost. They didn't have it. I think it was just the fact that this is an incredibly hard business to try to break into. And when you only have one or two licenses, like, hey, even Cryptoys, where you haven't seen anything from them for almost a year, earlier this year, they said, hey, more is coming. I don't know if they had enough money to be able to do that. Maybe they got acquired. Maybe they sold part of I don't know. But most everyone else that tries it, even Recur that had a bunch of licenses, you don't make it. Granted, they didn't take care of the IP. But with, like, was it Reebok? No, Artifact and Nike. I mean, these are some of the biggest names with like unlimited money, and a lot of people just say, like, you know what, it's not worth it to do it. So they could keep pumping money in, but they don't. Like Jim Lee, I think, has a lot of money. I don't think he's done much of Backhouse in years. So I think it's just that it's incredibly hard to do this with just one or two IPs. And then you have to compete with VeVe that just has all of the licenses. Like, what licenses are left? There's very few licenses that are. There's, of course, the people, you have that high-hanging fruit of the companies that are just scared of Web3 because they just don't know any better yet, which is fine. And then you have the people that are kind of on the fence. So like, hey, we would love to give you these licenses, for us to make a little bit of money. But every other license that I see, if they go anywhere outside of VeVe, they tend to fail. So I don't think it's really has anything to do with them trying to rug. I think it's just them trying something and living boldly, and they just missed. However, that being said, the owner's brother sold all of his NFTs like before the news came out, like the week of. Is that because his brother told him, "Hey, we're not doing well. Get out now while you can," or is it the brother's intuition saying like, "Oh, we were supposed to go on this trip. He canceled this trip. He hasn't visited our parents in a while. He asked me for money. Maybe he's not. Maybe nothing was said to him, but he was just able to figure it out," because I think that happens as well. And then the root network, like what happens to the tokens that they're associated with? It doesn't sound like they're just moving money around. Like I feel like Alexis from Schitt's Creek had said, "I've dated enough Wall Street losers to tell you that when you have to move money around, it means that you're broke." And I don't want to say that everything associated with them is going to go down, but unless I'm able to get them on the podcast, and even if I can unless I take a look at the books, I don't think I would invest in anything that's associated with them right now. Everyone since Recur, and I asked David this years ago, what are we going to, people want you to acquire Recur. How do we get the licenses that were, I don't want to say duped by them, but how do we get them to stay excited about Web3 when the first foray into it, kind of failed? And this is years ago. David said, "Don't worry, we're already talking to those licenses." I imagine that they have been in talks with either Candy, the Futureverse, or about the licenses in general, or possibly all three. And I don't know if there's a cooling off period where, hey, this had failed, you have to wait 2 years for the license. They did that with Marvel and Netflix after Disney bought Marvel. They had to wait a few years for those Netflix characters to get their own shows. That may or may not be happening here. That's why I haven't seen the Recur licenses. And I know I just threw a bunch of word vomit out, but that's just my general take.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Doc, go ahead.
So I have a question for you, Randy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I have not been on Twitter a ton. I had been hearing rumors about the Futureverse and things going on. So did Futureverse put out a statement saying we're going under? Is that what
they
happened?
set out two statements, one of which seemed a bit more bullish than the others. I could look up the first one right now. And the first one, which was a day ago, they just said, "Today, the Futureverse board made the difficult decision to begin a restructuring of the business. We've made significant progress building world-leading AI models." I think that's debatable. "Developing more than 30 open source protocols and partnering with some of the world's top brands. We recognize that the adjustments are needed to ensure the long-term sustainability of our vision. The process will allow us to focus on strengthening the foundation of the company and reshaping the structure so we can continue to support our core products and applications. Importantly, this restructuring only impacts Futureverse Corporation, does not directly affect subsidiaries. Futureverse has always been rooted in collaboration and innovation, and our aim remains to carry this work forward in a stronger, more sustainable form." Which, again, that sounds like very, very sugar-coated, but it just sounds like, hey, okay, we have a plan here. But then when you look at another post by them, and it had said, "While we achieved some incredible outcomes like breaking new ground across AI, gaming, and Web3 protocols, we ultimately have run out of options to become a long-term sustainable business with the structure as is. I know for many of you, this has been a passion, just as it has been for me and our leadership team. Delays in our partner launches, customer revenue, and historical liabilities carried through from the various companies we have rolled up all contributed to this outcome. Fundraising in a soft market for Web3 metaverse and gaming, where many market leaders have recently restructured or wound down, and a backdrop of high global uncertainty in the macro environment has been difficult, so we've been faced with an incredibly tough decision. I'm devastated, as I'm sure many of you are here, that it has come to this. It's been my mission to create the tools and opportunity for others to build a more open, immersive internet. And while we have created dozens of innovative tools, models, and protocols, this is not what I envisioned our journey leading to." They continue on saying, "The process we are now in does enable us to restructure, and hopefully the vision can continue. There will be some pain in the process we're doing. All we can do is help ensure core services remain active and transition any dependencies for Web3 elements to more independent solutions. Much of the work has been done building protocols that are open and built on Web3 infrastructure, TRN, and many of the tools we have built are open source, and we will release more projects shortly to enable anyone who wants to continue what we started to do so. It sounds like they're having a community takeover. It just doesn't scream, hey, we're just moving people around. It more screams like, hey, we're kind of hecked here, and anyone that wants to do a CTO, they can, or open to being bought out. And again, like why VeVe didn't buy Recur is like, there's no point. Like most of the people that are on there are on VeVe already. And even if they're not, it's not worth it for the maybe couple of dozen users that you would get. It's better to just talk to those licenses. I don't know if that answered your question at all.
Well, I mean, yeah, it did. First of all, that second tweet reminds me of Do Kwon with Terra Luna tweeting out, "Steady lads, deploying more capital." Right? It does not scream confidence whatsoever. He just word vomited a lot more than Do Kwon did. But it's like, I'm not laughing about this. I'm laughing about the tweet itself. But like, I hate this, man. I hate seeing these companies that really try to innovate and jump into this new space not succeed. You know, and anyone who's dancing on the grave here, you know, like, oh, it was only a matter of time and all this stuff. It's like, why? Like, why do we have to? Why do so many people do that? This tribalism, right? Like I can only like VeVe stuff, right? Or like in backhouse, it's like I have backhouse, I have broadside, I've got tons of VeVe stuff, right? I had Recur. Like I like to support it all as much as possible. I tried Cryptoids until they screwed us over. I was very vocal about that, and no apology or anything like that from Cryptoids. And I was like, this project is not going to fail with that type. Is going to fail with that type of leadership, where you don't come in and own it and make things right. That's a huge red flag. Now, I like Will himself as a person, but like leading that company, that was one of the biggest mistakes he did. He lost a lot of income or revenue from the people who supported him first with a move like that, you know. But even then, I've not celebrated Cryptoids like disappearing for a while. Hopefully they come back, you know, like. So I hope that we can change that mindset of people, right? Because I think that people are like, well, if they fail, then mine is going to do better. And that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily true. Some of those people, like, they just leave the space and then they don't come back because they're pissed. So whereas maybe if Cryptoids succeeded, and then they'd be like, well, what's this VeVe thing? You know, so we need more people like that in the space. The Futureverse, there was a lot of promise to it. I had a project that I freaking loved, these crypto walkers that were so fun. Loved the characters, the 3D modeling that they had NFTs, and they were going to be able to build a game in the Futureverse. And like now, it just sounds like it's not going to happen. But just an alpha for you guys, and actually the listeners here. I haven't even told you this yet, but I reached out to Shay like 3 or 4 days ago, and I was like, "Hey Shay, I know, I mean, things kind of sound shaky over there, and yeah, I don't know if you could talk about anything or what you can talk about, but we'd love to have you on the channel just to talk about Candy." If possible, or when you can. And asked her if she was coming to, so she's going to New York Comic Con for sure. She might be coming to Vegas DCon as well. But I was like, hey, let's have you on the channel as soon as you can talk. And she was like, listen, yeah, can't say much now. Like I'm going to kind of wait and see how things play out and stuff. But as soon as I can, she's going to come on the show and we can talk about things and you know, what the new directions. I think it'll be very helpful for us and for all of our viewers here. So I think that will be great. But I don't know, man. It's sad. It's sad to hear about this. And I agree with you though, Randy. I think it's a pretty good take that there is a chance when this happens, some of these companies like Candy or DC, right? They're just like, man, this is like, this partnership's unstable. And we know that they've done stuff with VeVe in the past. And do they at some point say, hey, maybe we need to reconnect? Because I haven't seen anything DC in a long time from VeVe. You know, not even just like the comics, right? Like there's not a lot of DC stuff dropping. So I don't know what happened there, or if they kind of are on hiatus, or maybe like this agreement. I don't know, right? But this definitely opens some windows for VeVe to kind of swoop in and be like, hey, remember us? Remember how you guys make money with us, you know, and maybe kind of sweeter deal for VeVe going forward too, you know. So yeah, like I would be surprised right now, especially if Candy is still up and running, if VeVe gets DC Comics. But maybe we start seeing DC like figures again. Like that would be great. And so yeah, I guess that's kind of like it's kind of what my thoughts are on that.
Yeah, a lot of times there's concerns like as these new industries really take off, like there is a failure rate, and I do like to differentiate between a business failure and a rug pull because they're different things. A rug pull is more like oftentimes rug pulls that was designed in from the beginning. The team's usually anonymous and they pull the rug out from under you just as things are taking off and they pull out all the liquidity. And that's a true rug pull. That term gets overused to extend a business failure. And if you're not careful, you lump them all in together and they're not the same. And the better you can understand why a business goes down, the better you can learn so that you recognize patterns and you become a savage investor. But you'll never become a sophisticated savage investor if you just see everything as a blanket rug pull that fails because you're not learning why things are failing, what went wrong. You're not learning to become an overall investor because like what an investor that becomes really good at this does ends up identifying better probabilities of businesses that will fail or not fail and will do well versus those that will fail. And so the journey in crypto is really the journey of learning how to invest in the crypto space in companies with a high probability of doing well and often buying them when they're cheap. So what 95% of the people do wrong in crypto is they buy high hoping it goes higher. And only 5% buy when things are punished, when things might look grim, and they do a lot of research to figure out, okay, what has high likelihood to succeed, and then they're buying. And that's what I noticed. All the people that I know that have become millionaires through crypto, that's exactly what they did. But that's the opposite of what most people in the crypto space are doing. And right now, most people in the crypto space are completely ignoring OMI, and I think to their own detriment. They're completely ignoring the digital collectible space, and I think to their detriment. Now, there's no guarantee that this sector is going to survive, but in many ways, digital collectibles are superior to physical collectibles because of the instantaneous marketplace. They're verifiable that you have the actual legitimate item and you can put them on the marketplace without having to like have PSA grade it and then hope it doesn't get lost in the mail. There's a lot of countries you can't even mail stuff to without things getting stolen out of them. And there's just, the buyer doesn't know for sure you didn't fake that PSA grading seal. And so there's just a lot of friction in that marketplace, whereas the digital marketplace, you can put your collectible on the market. Person buying it knows exactly what they're getting and they can buy it 2 seconds after you list it. That makes things more verifiable. Like people feel like, okay, I am getting the legitimate item. So there's greater trust there. Now, is everybody in the world going around flexing their digital collectibles? Not yet. That's why there's potential money to be made here. Because if everyone in the world was already flexing their Batman digital collectibles and their other digital collectibles, well, then the prices are already high. So you have to see, is that trend going to happen? I strongly think it is. And then buy when things are cheap, when there's trouble in the water, because that's when prices are low. Because, as I was thinking this last week, investing is really simple. Why do so many people miss it? Because they think there's this magic button you press where you can buy high and it just goes higher. You can wait till everybody is doing it and somehow make money. And that's the opposite of what everyone who I've known that's made millions through crypto does. They literally buy during these times where the trouble is thick and everyone's running out of the burning building, and they go in the burning building and they identify, is this savable and is this likely to make it? And then they take a chance. For example, in the 2019 through 2020 bull market, 2/3 of what I invested in failed. But I was buying during the bear market, so everything was so cheap. So the 1/3 of things I bought, when they did survive, took my portfolio 100x from what the bottom was. That's just with 1/3 surviving. So 2/3 of what I bought absolutely failed, and yet I outperformed the S&P 500 by like 100, not 100 times, but like, orders of magnitude better with even 2/3 failing, because the gains can be so big when you are buying when things are savage, essentially buying in a fire sale. And I worked for a real estate investment company for like 7 years. And often I was the one that would go through the fire sales on a building that had burned, identifying is this savable, and often buy it. And you might be able to buy a $280,000 house and be buying it for 30, 40, 50,000. So,
so I want to kind of to further that point, Rain, like, so someone says it's Runkles McDougal or McDougall, and he says, LAMO, you think everyone's going to run out and buy useless digital collectibles? My answer to that is yes. Yep, they will. Just like a bunch of people ran out and bought useless JPEGs and spent millions of dollars on them. What was the utility of those JPEGs? You got airdropped more JPEGs that were also just JPEGs, right? But you got to flex those, right? And that was this whole thing. It was this social flex. It was this narrative that hit. And you know what? You see those useless JPEGs again, that really all they're doing is giving you potentially more airdrops. They're starting to increase in price again. Like I was talking to Crypto Cosmo about this Goblin Town. Goblin Town kind of had this pretty big rise. I mean, I think the top of them went to 8 ETH or something like that, but like it just got down to like 0.06 ETH, and they had to run up to 0.3 ETH, like a 5x in like a week. So yeah. Like I do think that people are going to call you call them useless digital collectibles. I don't know why you call them useless. Like, I mean, you can still play with them in a different way. Like with my kids, like I said, like, and I do it all the time, man. I have videos with my kids where Iron Man shoots them and they fall down. And then we watch that and they love that, man. They will watch that for hours. Hulk smashing them, and everything. And they just giggle and, and you can take videos in AR, you can do things with it. So it's better than a JPEG, right? You have this AR and VR capability there. But then also, like, as the technology gets better, we've seen these AR and VR glasses that are coming out, and they're thinner, they're lighter, and they do more things, right? And I think that's going to continue. And I think that as that continues, these digital collectibles are going to have a place in the future, and they will become a thing. And I think because even though that technology isn't here yet, the speculation in crypto is always looking to the future. They're speculating on these things, and price goes up because of speculation, not because it's actually there. And so my answer again to that is, do I think that everyone's going to run out and buy useless digital collectibles? Absolutely. And you know what? Someone just bought, like, shout out to Crypto Cosmo. It was kind of fun, but he just showed that he has 700 Marvel Comics #1 comics, right? So like if we take the floor price that's been going on like for quite some time at $20, that's $14,000 on just those comics alone, and probably spent more than that, honestly, like because the floor wasn't always at $20. And I kind of I was trolling Sanjay, Mr. MC1, and I was like, hey, are you now Mr. MC2? And then he flexed that he has over 1,000 Marvel comic #1s, right? So I don't know, because he was silent for like a while on that, and I wonder if he was like out there buying more. But the thing is listen, like I think what VeVe has created, this digital collectible thing, I do believe that it will hit a narrative. Now you've got Sagittarius saying, hey, maybe he believes the narrative is going to come. Maybe it will come with gaming. That is such an easy plug-in, honestly. If some of these NFTs that VeVe have what do they call it? Like skeletons? What is it that they're I can't remember what the modeling is called, but basically like where they could drop them into different games or something like that. Like there's a possibility that VeVe has some of those collectibles like that could literally just be dropped in as they are, or they could work with these companies and say like, hey, with APIs and say you own this collectible, and now that collectible can be played in this game. If that happens, like it's going to happen at some point. Like I don't know if VeVe is going to do it, but I guarantee, like there's no doubt in my mind that is going to happen. that some of these NFTs are going to tie themselves together with some company, and having these NFTs are going to allow you to play in mainstream games with those skins and those characters. So a narrative is going to hit there. But again, that's the thing, right? This is who we're trading against. We're buying these things against the people like Runcos McDougall who don't believe in it, and we'll see who's right. Like, you may be right. I don't believe so, but because there's such a large portion of the population that believes like you do, that this is a thing, this isn't a thing, that collectibles are dead. These prices are a lot lower. And so, and we're buying low while the FUD is high, or there's concern about this. And we believe that a narrative is going to hit. Now, if it does, the risk to reward is pretty substantial here, right? I don't think it's a 2x. I think it's a 5, 10, 15x on some of these things, maybe a 30x. Like, that's a big deal. That orders of magnitude higher than anything that you're going to get in the real estate market, the stock market, any of these things, right? But there's bigger risk, and that's the volatility that we play in. So there's my soapbox.
What's funny about this space is it takes a little bit of what I call golden vision. It's the ability to see kind of the components here and being able to take pretty good guesses of what that adds up to. And some people just can't see it. Remember last bear market trying to explain this game that I bought some land in a blockchain game that was barely launched and the game kind of sucked. And I was trying to tell some people about the land in the game, and they're like, well, the game sucked. Why is the land going to be worth anything? I was like, yeah, but you actually own the land. Was the land usable now? No, you can't use it. Well, when's it going to be usable? I have no idea. See, useless. So it was easy for them to throw out these quick sound bites of, see, useless. Oh, can't even do it. Da, 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 da. That land went from, I was buying Mystic Cloth for $80. The game was Axie Infinity. Yeah, everyone's heard about it now. Now's not the time to buy. When I had it, nobody had heard of it. And when you tried to make the case to people, they just said it was stupid because they couldn't see how this idea of ownership was a big deal. So the game completely took off, not because the game was good, but because you could actually have ownership. Because that ownership, you could acquire something, you could play a certain amount per day, and you could earn SLP tokens, and that was worth something. So people were making money playing this game, and it became the 10th highest played game in the world for about 3 months. And in that time, the company made like $1 billion in revenue, which like maybe 5 games in history have made $1 billion in revenue. The land went from, I put 4,100 into it. I sold out at 400,000. It went to like $12 million if I include the tokens that they airdropped to me for having bought the land at the initial drop. And, when I was trying to explain to people, they just said I was dumb and the game was dumb and it wouldn't amount to anything. And it was really easy for them to just dismiss it without trying to look deeper. And that's cool. I don't need to convince anybody. Like, in fact, I don't even try to convince anybody anymore. When people give me pressure or whatever, they're like, oh, that's dumb. It's like, cool. You do you, bro. Like, because of the bear market that I acquired all these risky things, and many didn't even make it. In 2021, I was able to put myself in a place where I never have to have a job again in my life. So here we are again. Now it's early bull market. Like Bitcoin's been running for a while, but most of the altcoins, especially blockchain gaming, digital collectibles, hasn't run yet. And so those prices are really, really low. And once again, most people don't have the vision, and that's totally cool. I'm not here for them. I'm here for the people that you can share the components with. They have enough. Just, I don't know. Some people get it and some don't. And they can be like, I see where this is going. Yes, I'm going to take a risk that if I put money in there, I could lose it. But if it does well, it might go up 5 times, 10 times, 30 times, 100 times what I put in. Cool. I'm going to take that risk. And you know what? There's those people out there. And that's why I love doing this podcast and the show. It's because I've met a bunch of them and, been able to grow a community of people who think like that. And what's fun is a whole bunch of people, this message just bounces right off them. They can't hear it. And that's all right. This isn't for them. What I really enjoy is some people, you explain these things to them and they get it right away. They're like, ah, yes, I've been waiting for this type of thing. Remember when hockey cards came out, and I was going to a baseball card shop, and I was looking at baseball cards because some friends were collecting. Might go in, there's like, it's like, there's this new thing, hockey cards. You should really buy these. These will do really well. And I'm like 14. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, hockey cards? I don't watch hockey cards or hockey at all. And he's like, I know, but because he's just released, they're going to do really well. And I was like, is anybody buying them? No, almost nobody's buying them because they don't get it yet. And I was like, oh, well, I don't want to buy them. Of course, the baseball cards I was buying then, this was like the 1990s Donruss set where they released a gazillion of them. And the value of those like hasn't changed at all. But the nobody's buying them hockey cards have gone up like 100 times in value from there. It's like, oh, well, that's interesting. But it was a new thing, and I was really young, and I didn't know, when I didn't understand these things yet about what has good potential and why things go up in value. I just figured, well, if nobody's buying them, then they won't go up. And the truth is that some people were buying them, just not everybody was buying them. The people who got it, and they're like, you know what, this is an early release. They're so limited on how many cards are coming out because so few people get it yet. As more people come into the hockey card collecting space, these are going to do tremendous because the number of mints on these are so low versus the 1990s Donruss set that they printed off probably 100 million of each card. So like there was no scarcity there, but on the hockey cards there was. These early digital collectibles with VeVe, compared to how many people I think are going to come into space, they're going to be very, very rare. And some of them are going to do incredibly well. And as digital collectibles comes around, their token OMI is going to come around. Now, I did want to go to this super chat. Thank you, Turtle, for the super chat. This goes to another topic we wanted to talk about today. So why don't we move this topic? Seems like all the gamification of the drops has been removed. Spamming buy now button, rebound, sniping, addition drop mechanism. What could VeVe do to bring back some of the gamification? And with that, let's also talk about drop quantities and pricing.
He had mentioned something before about he said last week, Doc, you talked about poor VeVe drop mechanics. What were your thoughts on the Coca-Cola drop? $10 with the chance of a 1 of 1. I think they did really well. I'm not sure if they did as well as the Vader drop, but Vader's literally the most popular villain in the world, in the history of the world. So you can take your guesses on why that did better. But even on the Facebook part, people have been saying like they can't afford it, and they are voting with their wallets of not buying. That being said, it looks like there's a bunch of people that still are keeping it afloat. Again, you have a bunch of people that are doing really well in life that $50 for them is not that much. And like, yeah, I'll go for it a couple of times, especially if you get a 1 of 77. It's a flex piece. They don't need to sell. And that's why that Vader's like $800 or whatever it is, because people that have money get them and they don't. And yes, I owe you a.
I didn't check. I was like, oh, that just reminded me of her bet, bro.
Yeah, I owe you a dinner. I owe you a dinner, which is I don't know if you've ever seen that meme where it's just like it's only one. Oh yeah, I got it right here, where it says it's only one day until payday, and it's like a cut up hot dog and Cheetos.
Cheetos.
So. Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. Not that it's unfortunate. Like this shows that VeVe kind of can cater to everyone. It's that if you don't want to go for a $50 drop, you don't have to. Mm-hmm. But even the $20 drop, like the Marvel Mighties, I know they made 20-something thousand on it, but they didn't have, I think, anything that was really worth the $20. Like the Chase ones. I get the chases are really scarce. They're really cool. I like She-Hulk. I know a lot of people don't. The special edition Lyja. I have no idea who Lyja is. I got a sub 100 of her for $10, so I thought that was cool. But the chases, they weren't really characters that were super popular. Again, I love She-Hulk. But Galactus, not a first edition. Silver Surfer, not a first edition. Mole Man, the ultra rare. I actually don't know who he is. And Herbie, I think, is a Fantastic Four character, but I don't think it's really super popular. And Marvel Mighties used to be 13. Now they're 20. Why are they doing this?
I don't get the increase in price for Marvel Mighties. I don't, because they didn't even sell out with some of the Marvel Mighties at $13.
Yeah.
But listen, like, honestly, they may be doing price testing and saying, okay, what's the price point at which, and maybe we charge a higher amount and we don't sell as much, but do we make more money overall? Again, that's a strategy, but you're going to burn out your users, and like I said, and people can, Wes can take another clip or whatever, and people can crap on my take, like behind, their little laptop, like, cyber warrior there, keyboard warrior. But like, at the end of the day, like the reason that we do this show is because we have a voice. And I think it's important to bring these things up and hopefully VeVe listens, right? Like to the community. And, there's a lot of people who reach out and say like, hey, like, yeah, I'm not going for this because it's too it's too expensive, and like, none of my stuff that I bought goes up. I just buy it off the drop and then it goes down. And people get burned out from that. Like you have to have some, at least some, where it's like, hey, if I get this, then the likelihood that it maintains a value or is higher in value happens, because then otherwise people are gone. They might like this stuff, right? But that's the thing is, VeVe was propped up by people with speculation, where people were like, well, I'm going to buy this. I like it. Yeah. But like, honestly, I'm hoping to make money on it. And then with that money, they would buy more stuff. Right. And they would collect the things that they liked. But again, like it would be very interesting. And we don't have a mechanism to do this, where if people bought certain things, statues or, actual collectibles, and they literally walked out of the store and then someone was like, I'm going to pay you at a 90% discount for everything that you just bought. If people would be like, do I really want to buy this again? Am I going to go buy another one? Like it'd be interesting to see how that is. But that's what we get, right? We get this instantaneous feedback on what the actual the perceived market value of these collectibles are. And so these high edition sizes, and especially with Marvel Mighties, where they increase the price as well, I was just like, I have no idea why they did that. They're obviously not listening to the channel, or maybe they are, and they just, they've got, like, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But for me, yeah, like I said, I've been voting with my wallet, and there's a lot more people who are voting with their wallets. When we're talking about these active users, that's what they're doing, right? They're saying, I'm burned out. I'm not coming back. Now, if/when VeVe hits the narrative, they'll be back. But you know why they will be back? Because more and more people are going in and they're like, I can make money on this. Mm-hmm. That's when they'll be back. But if you can do that now in certain drops, not even every drop, but certain drops at least, you're going to get more daily active users. And I think that you'll have an uptick in revenue because more people will come in. So just my thoughts. I don't know. I'm an economist, or like got my degree in economics. I feel like, I know something about supply and demand to a certain extent in business, but it's just me.
I think economics 24/7. I can't ever shut it off. And I'm glad, like, my wife gets really bored by it. But if you combine economics and the psychology of people behavior, it helps you figure out what people are going to do. And with this, like he's looking at what could they do to bring back some of the gamification. Because probably Turtle's like, we want to bring back more users. But if you think about, like, why has FigPin done so well the last year? The majority reason why FigPin has done so well is because the value of the collectibles has gone up. That's what makes collecting fun. It's not the only thing that makes it fun, but that is the amplifier. If you can get something rare and it goes up in value, that's what drives the fun. So when you start with a high initial price, like VeVe is doing, you decrease tremendously the chance that it's going to go up, especially when you have so many mints. So you almost guarantee that everyone who buys at your drop is going to take a loss in the short run. And that's going to suck the fun out of it for however long it takes for prices to reverse. Now, McFarlane gets this. Like, McFarlane, when they were launching their digital collectibles, he gets pricing strategy, and he was pricing really low so that it would drive the funds so that the price could flip. And he got started late in the game. Had he started at the same time of VeVe, probably he would have a huge community because I think his pricing strategy is superior to VeVe's. VeVe has this wrong. They have survived despite this, but they have this wrong. And I don't know, maybe this message hasn't gotten to them. Maybe there's other reasons they have to start a higher pricing strategy. I've been voting with my wallet for a long time. I don't buy on the drops. I haven't bought hardly ever on the drops in the last 2 years. Why? Why wouldn't I just wait to buy it later? Like as an investor, am I hurt by the Vader dropping for $50 and then you can buy a common for $7 later? No, I'm not hurt by that. I can just buy them for $7. I'm a little bit bummed because it does burn VeVe's momentum and it burns their social capital with the audience. But if I could buy them at $7 later on down the road, if it survives, and I think VeVe will, it'll do really, really well. So as an investor, it's like, doesn't hurt my feelings that they priced it at $50. I just know that they are burning some of their capital of their collectors, because it is no fun when you pay $50 for something and 3 days later you see the floor is at $7. It feels like, yeah, you just took like a big old painful shot in your arm. And way less excited to buy again and then buy again, and it keeps happening. So if they, rather than like gamification, if they literally bring the price down to start with, they're going to generate way more users buying on the drop. Why? What if that Vader had come out for $7? And they're immediately, if you were able to get the drop because everyone was trying to buy so many of them, they can immediately flip it for 15. All those people who are participating in that drop are super jazzed, and they're checking their VeVe account every day. And then your daily active users just went from under 1,000 to sometimes 1,200 to like 3,000 per day. Why? Because people are excited again. And every time it changes hands, VeVe makes money. Disney makes money, or Star Wars makes money. So like they're happy. Like it seems like, oh, why are we going to price it so low? And it's like, because it's not about what you price at the beginning. It's how many times can you get these to change hands and go up in value. It's about the price that it finishes at. Because if you can do tons of volume and these change hands lots and lots and lots of times, you make money every time they change hands. Like part of the reason Axie Infinity made $1 billion in revenue is because they would make 4.25% every time things change hands. And everything was changing hands all the time. And they made a fortune on that. So VeVe, you want to get your daily active users up? Don't price Darth Vader Samurai version at $50 with so many mints. Price something like that at $7. And then that'll allow people, it'd probably on the resale market go for 12 to 15. And everyone would be super excited that was able to get it on the drop.
I would love for them. I would love for them to test this out. Just test this theory out on one really cool drop. Have a super low price and you know, a decent mint size, right? Nothing extravagant. And
how
see
many
what
have
happens.
they even sold so far?
It's
Which
slowly.
one?
Go ahead.
Of the Darth Vader.
Oh, they sold most of them. Also, if you take a look at it, if you go to the latest and you click see all, normally you're able to just scroll down, which you can, and then, oh, Vader, you click on it, but now it just takes you right back to the top. So the app has been glitching all afternoon, but you can just go to the latest drops and then scroll. It takes you to the actual page, but when you go and scroll down, and normally you're able to see the additions and how many were sold, now it doesn't. Now it only shows you the additions in circulation and how many were burned and how many were withheld. It doesn't show you how many were sold. So I don't know if that's a new thing they're doing, but it is horrible because you can't tell how many are left. You can't tell how many are sold.
You can see it on the computer version. They've sold 2,495 of them. Remaining is 473 of them.
Wow, so they made
173 of the
120.
common. Is that of the common or of in total of everything?
In total. So
There's
the common you
$124,000.
had 1,630 out of the 1977.
Yeah,
Epic.
like so they may eventually sell out, right? Like I mean, but you know why? It's because people are trying to hit that secret rare Vader, right? And so there's this gambling, and
Not
it's
just
probably
that,
from
but they're also looking for those mint numbers like 1977. So.
sure.
Oh
they
yeah,
can
because they
be
have the
doing
bounties
that.
on them.
Yeah, because there's bounties. So there's some gambling involved as things get closer. Because you'll see like some will be kind of hovering at a certain like minted out or like it hasn't minted out, but then as it gets closer, all of a sudden like it mints out super fast because people are trying to catch that right. And so listen, I mean, VeVe could sit there and point out and say, yeah, well, even though it took us 3 weeks to sell out, we still sold out. And I'm like, that's such short-term thinking. Because yes, it did, but you're losing users every single time. And how much does it cost you to gain new users?
They're seeing it as a success because look, we've almost sold out, but they're not one of those people that bought it for $50, didn't get a good mint, and is like, my resale is $7 now.
And I'm out, right?
Feels
Like
the
I'm not
pain.
going to do the next drop.
Then their next question is, man, how can we get more people excited about this? And it's like, stop burning their excitement out.
Yeah.
Well, we almost sold out, and it's like, let me ask you, you released 3,000 editions of a Darth Vader. Why the hell did you not sell out? Why did you not sell out in like 2 hours and have the resale price go up rather than down? Because you sucked out all the excitement with your really high initial price. Got it. How's that working for you?
And honestly,
How's
if
the
it
daily
wasn't
active
for
users going? Look at your daily active users, and I'll tell you how that's going for you.
Yeah.
Now, will they probably survive anyway? Yes. Is this a mistake they're making? Huge. I used to work with people trying to sell their home. And I realized, because I'd been in real estate working with buyers for a long time, I realized exactly how buyers thought. And when I worked with sellers, number one, like, you know, when somebody goes to sell their home, how they think about it. I want to get the most money possible. So say they have a $500,000 home. They're like, I want to price it at $570,000, leave room to negotiate. Guess what happens?
nobody shows
On the
up.
market,
You don't want to, right? Because you're like, this house
570,000.
is worth. Yeah.
And everybody comes and looks at it and they're like, it's not worth 570,000. They don't buy it. So then it's on the market for 2 months. They're like, why don't we have any offers? It's like, because clearly they know it's worth 500,000 because they looked at 10 other homes. They walked through yours and you're asking 570. Yeah, but why didn't they make an offer and negotiate? Because they don't want to deal with those hassles. So now they've been on the market for a long time and it's gone stale. So what I figured out is when I helped them put it on, the pricing strategy is we list it for $489. Then like 15 people would come look at it the first day, and this was in a terrible market. And they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, the value is way over what they're asking," or sometimes $479. And they're like, "Man, this thing's worth 500,000. They're only asking $479." And then you'd have 15 people come, you'd have 5 people offering on it, and guess what that would sell for? $510,000, and it would sell in like 2 or 3 days. So they didn't have to sit on the market for forever. Because if you went with the other pricing strategy, what would happen is after a while, not only can you not sell it for the 579, you can't even sell it for 500,000 anymore because it's sat on the market for so long. People think there's something wrong with it, and eventually they sell it after 9 or 10 months for 450,000. A different pricing strategy created completely different results just by pricing things right. And VeVe is not pricing things right here. And cool, they can listen to this or they can be like, oh, those guys don't know what they're talking about. It's like, I do. Why? I'm just observing people behavior. Your daily active users tells me everything. Cool, listen to this or don't. I don't care. Am I going to stop investing in VeVe? No. Am I going to stop investing in OMI? Now make enough bad mistakes. Yes, I will absolutely stop investing in VeVe and stop investing in OMI. Is this a mistake you're making? Yes. Why would I not call it out? Why? Because I want VeVe to survive. I want VeVe to do its best. Making a mistake here. Listen to it or don't. It's up to you.
Yeah.
I think part of it might also have to be, and I don't want to play like devil's advocate here, but it does take me to one of our next points.
Let's do it. play devil's advocate. That's okay. Like, I mean, I think this is important, right? I think it's important to have both sides of an argument, or like if you're seeing something that we're not, like, don't apologize for it, or just say like, hey, what
It's
about
just
this?
not. Well, I guess there's two things. One is very not likely, and one is probably likely. The not likely thing is just be like, I mean, a lot of these people that complain most of the time anyway, that aren't buying anyway, if they're not buying, this drop is not for them. And if we're supposed to be high-end digital collectibles, and I'm not saying they're like milking the ones that are going to buy, but these are high-end digital collectibles. There's a story in the Art of the Deal where Trump Tower and Hilton, they were priced at like $400 a night, and then the Hilton goes down to like $385, and then Trump's manager from the hotel says we should go down to $385, and suddenly Trump says no. The Hilton across the street is telling everyone that they're not as good as us, and if we lower our prices to what they're doing, then it's like a race to the bottom. But by keeping it as we are, like the rich people or the people that are looking to stay at the best hotel are not going to care of a difference of an extra $25 a night, in the same way that some of the more well-off people on VeVe, yeah, is it cool if they can save $25 on a drop instead of $50 go to 25? Sure. But if those are the only people that are buying anyway, like if you have your Rolexes and Mr. MC1s, I was like, yo, bro, it's like $80. I'm just going to pick this up anyway, like on the secondary for a secret rare. Then why not go in and say like, okay, they're the ones that are buying. Let's do that. The other possibility is that you have agreements with Marvel saying like, hey, or DC or whoever, whatever license, we're going to guarantee you this much on the drop. And or it's not even that. Maybe it costs the license so much per month, per drop, however much it is, and they have to make that up. And maybe they can't make that up with the lower price point of $10 or $15, and they have to do it this way. And I don't. And again, we're all operating with conjecture here. Nobody really knows. But those are just some other possibilities. The other thing is with the Agaro, the mint of New Zealand, we are getting a drop. So we're getting a drop at New York Comic Con. They're $109 per blind box, and this is gambling out the yin yang because you have 99% chance to lose money, because if you get a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3, it's just going to be 5 grams of pure silver. It's 5 grams, not 5 ounces, so it's not a lot at all. But if you get a tier 4, it's 5 grams of gold. 1 gram of gold is about 120, like 125. So if you get it, you pay $109, but you get something that's worth $625. But again, the chances of that are 1%. But you also get one of these. Even if you do get one of the other ones, they are pretty cool and they are limited. They are not limited to VeVe though. You can buy them on their website. It's one of 5,000 of these. And as they do that, they go in and they say, okay, we're going to make $500,000 on these, or that's what we'll gross. They only have to really shell out less than $100,000 in gold and silver precious metal product. So you have $400K to split between the license, which is Star Wars, VeVe, and then the mint. And I think this is how we also get that gold potential gold kind of like nugget from them that David had teased years back, or not years back, months back. I know this is a kind of a weird segue, but if you have anything on what I'd said previously before we got into this, let me know.
Yeah. So first off, sure, they can be like, hey, like you got your Sanjays and Rollies who are going for this, but here's what's happening. So if they're okay with that, but then they're also like, hey, how can we get more users? How can we get more users? And I'm like, well, like you're doing something that is losing users, but then you're saying, well, it's okay because these people are still here and they're still paying for it, so we're going to stay with this. But then we need more users. Like those two things don't jive. Like bottom line. Now I'll say this, right? You'll have companies with different agreements, right? That like they might say, hey, you've got to do this much volume with us, and if you don't do this much volume, there is a certain amount that you're going to owe us each month. That is a possibility that is in the contract with VeVe, with Marvel or Disney. Like either you got to do a certain number of drops, or you got to do enough of these drops, and you can choose the mint size within a certain range, but like and price point. But at the end of the day, we have to at least get this much money for our IP. That's a possibility that they have something structured like that in their contract. I don't know if they do, but that could be the reason why, that they're having to price some of these things the way. So fair point, right? And that's the problem is here we are making these comments and we don't have the full picture as to what the contracts are. But we've seen, I'll just say this though, we have seen them where they have adjusted the price and mint size of something after public outcry. So it leads me to believe that there is definitely some flexibility within there.
Yeah, if they can change these metrics, they would benefit hugely to bringing more users on the platform. Because if part of the reason what attracts people like Mr. MC1 and people that have money is they see a platform that has this good IP. But the truth is, if they continue to kill their users, like blow them out like this, $50 on a drop that goes to $7, and it sucks all the fun out of it, that the drops will continue to suffer. And then the survival of the platform is less likely. And they're going to drive away their whales excitement too over time. It's like, well, I'm not seeing enough people buying this, so I'm going to pull back. So I get the hotel analogy, but that's not comparing apples to apples here. Like pricing generates excitement. So what we saw in the big NFT craze of 2021 is some celebrities came out and they're like, Taylor Swift NFT. I don't remember if she did one, but there were some big celebrities that launched their things at $2,000. And it sucked all the fuel out of it. The resale went way down and it killed their project. Every single one of those that had a high initial price, it killed their project. So VeVe is surviving despite their bad pricing model, not because of it. The bad pricing model is not helping them. Mm-hmm. And it is not going, it is not doing what I think they don't realize the damage that it does over time. It just erodes people's excitement for it. Now you take a drop like this, and I don't know what the agreement is with Lucas Arts or whatever to be able to price this. I mean, go to this to be able to price this at something like $7 or $10. But if they did, imagine they would have sold all of these in a matter of an hour. The wait list would have been full. It would have brought so much excitement. And then you probably would have had the commons and rares going for even more than what they had paid. And you would see so much excitement return and people would be buzzing about VeVe and they would be telling their friends about it. But instead, everyone who got this drop is probably not sharing a whole lot about it from their friends because they see they could have turned around and got it for $7. Unless you happen to get a secret rare or you got one of those crazy cool mint numbers. So what percentage of the drops got the secret rare? Like
what was the total? 77.
Like, yeah, one in 100.
2.5. 2.5.
Yeah, 2.5%. Okay, so 2.5% are super duper stoked that they participated in the drop. And so this is why so few daily active users. It's really not that complicated. And Darth Vader, this is great IP. The collectibles are freaking cool. But I was talking to Dr. Seth this last week, and I think about, like, one of the things I collected, I love Star Wars stuff, and I collected Star Wars Legos. And so I think about physical collectibles. And imagine you buy a big IP that you like and say, whatever you're super passionate about, they launch a toy of it, and you go out and you buy it and pay $50. And you're like, oh, I love this toy. And then 3 weeks later, you go to the dollar store and you see one of those for like $7 at the dollar store. Are you really excited that you bought it when it launched? Not really. And they've been doing this over and over and over again during the bear market. Now, I shared this pricing strategy like 2 years ago when McFarlane Toys was doing. And they could say, well, look, McFarlane Toys doesn't hardly do anything. They might not even survive. And it's like, yeah, they didn't launch at the same time VeVe did. They were not prepared for the bull run, so they didn't get that huge growth of their audience like VeVe did. Had they done it, their pricing strategy is superior. They possibly would be crushing VeVe right now. I'm telling you, their pricing strategy isn't benefiting them. So we'll see. You know, like I don't have to weigh everything that they're weighing, but this is the stuff that I'm good at. Will they make a change on this? Probably not, but it's not helping them.
So here's another interesting thing that I want to talk about with psychology with this, right? And then I think we're beating a dead horse. But like at $7, I would have bought a lot of Vaders, right? So like I have spent nothing on the Vaders at all. And the funny thing is if I hadn't gotten like the ultra rare, and the ultra rare was selling for $50 or something, I probably would have bought it. You know what I mean? Like, but because everything else, it's just the psychology of things where it's like the thing, like whatever I bought is a little bit higher value, even if it was only $10 that the common went up to, you know what I mean? From $7, it's this whole psychological impact, right? Where I'm just like, I'm more willing to spend additional money chasing some other things because I made some money. Whereas if I'm like, it's almost a guaranteed, it's a 98% chance that I lose money on this, I'm out. And not only that, then I'm like, there's a sour taste in my mouth. And I like the collectibles. I think they're awesome. I still haven't even spent the $7 on, or whatever it is, on the floor one for the common yet. Haven't even done that. You know, whereas before, if it was at $7, I know that I'm at least getting a common. More than likely, I'm going to get a common, and I'm willing to spend it there. But there's this excitement there. You know, yeah, it's just wild, you know. But like, listen, did they paint themselves into a corner too, right? Where all of a sudden, if they start doing these high-end collectible drops, and they're lower prices, and everyone's all pissed because they're like, well, you know, oh, now you're dropping this price, and I'm like, maybe, but they can release a statement and say, you know what? Like after some analysis, we realized that. We think that right now the pricing strategy is going to change a little bit with this, and we're going to test some things out. And you get out in front of it, you know, and do that. And yeah, man, I don't know. So I didn't mean to cut you off, Rain. If you have,
they can play around with this, right? Why don't they do that on some drops? But one of the good examples, there was a comic that they did, or one of the Spider-Man. What is it? Spider-Man something that they had a very limited number, and it still sells above the price that it dropped at. Because the price combined with the rarity was good enough that anyone who got it has made money. And it's kept sentiment really high on that, even during the bear market. All right. Other things that we wanted to talk about today, Foster on Jan Collects podcast says, OMI announcements may coincide with VeVe announcements. That perhaps only 5 to 10% of the utility for OMI has been dropped so far.
And there's a lot of VeVe announcements. I bet you they're saving it for the bull market because we've seen how it works where you drop Blackpink and you announce this and it's fine. It's cool. I'll take it. But yeah, I think they're saving them for the bull market whenever that happens. They've been around long enough to know that things go in cycles. And I don't know. Someone asked me this the other day, and you guys probably know better than me. Obviously, alt season is going to last however long it'll last, X amount of months. But within that, what's the longest and the shortest of the cycles that you've seen? Like, okay, yeah, meme season one time lasted like 2 weeks, and another time it lasted like 3 months. What's the time frame in which you guys think they only have a certain amount of time to in a NFT bull market?
Hard to say how it's going to play out this time. Number one, the whole cycle is delayed, and the cycle is delayed because interest rates have been held high. Some say artificially held high. I don't know. I tend to think that they're probably correct on that. Artificially held high. because Europe's interest rates have been brought down to 2%, and Jerome Powell had been holding them strong since Trump came into office at 4.25. First citing, oh, inflation's too high, I'll lower it when inflation comes down. Then inflation comes down, it's like, yeah, but there might be inflation on the horizon, so I'm going to hold it high. And he's held it high until this last rate cut where he brought it down 0.25%. And it's like, So I think Trump is absolutely at war with the Federal Reserve, and like he's already replaced one person, probably another person. And then Jerome Powell's term is up in May, so at least by then he'll be replacing Jerome Powell, and he's probably going to put somebody in who's going to not only bring interest rates down tremendously, that probably they'll go to quantitative easing, and that will be the second stone that really kicks off the bull market. The first major one was the halving, and we've seen Bitcoin's price go up some. But if interest rates were down at 2% in the US like they were in Europe, you would see crypto already have been booming. So that's been holding things back. And it's all right. Like when it's delayed like this, it's like a rubber band pulling a brick. And the longer it takes for that rubber band to like finally move it, the farther the brick does move. So that just means when the bull market happens, it's going to go further faster. And that's going to be a wild ride.
So there's a government shutdown tonight as well, unless the Senate happens to pass something in the next 2.5 hours. Do you think we really need to wait until May for kind of a, that true alt season? Or
will Fed go to quantitative easing and lower interest rates? So it's like, I don't know really what the reasons Jerome Powell, his real reasons for not bringing interest rates down. I can't read his mind, and I only have what he said, but what he said doesn't match, because for a long time he was saying, I can't look to the future and see that rates are coming down. I can only look at the data I have now, and I have to make decisions based on the data I have now. Then when inflation can come down within the range that he said he would then cut rates at, he's like, okay, well, it's within the range I said I'd cut rates at, but I'm looking to the future, and it may be high in the future because of this tariff war. And it's like, wait, I thought you could only go off the data you have in front of you and not speculate to the future. But now you are saying you're speculating on the future. And so I find when people are giving differing reasons, like, they're not telling you the real story. They're telling you a story. So Jerome Powell has likely been telling us a story about why he's not lowering interest rates, not the story. And I don't know what the story is. Maybe he hates Trump. Maybe there's all the board of governors of the Federal Reserve been voting to keep it the same because they hate Trump. Or maybe there's some other reason. I don't know if it's politics. I don't know what it is, but they have been. All I know is their actions don't align with their words. And I don't know why. So I can speculate as to the reason, but it's just speculation. I don't know. So when those interest rates come down further, and 0.25% was nice, but there's more to go, you're going to see money flow into risk-on assets like crypto like crazy. We've only seen the beginning. And some people are saying, oh, the bull market's over. It's not going to happen. It's already happened. They're wrong. They're wrong. It could be that. I'd give about a 1% chance. Like, they're just wrong. Those odds are terrible odds. Like, much of the bull run is still to happen. Yeah, Bitcoin may have gotten most of its gains already, but a lot of the other market has not seen anything yet compared to what it's going to see.
I 100% agree with that, Rain. Like, I think that there's a lot of reasons. Listen, so Raoul Pal, however you want to pronounce that, I really respect the guy. I don't always agree on everything that he says, but I agree with a lot of what he says. And this dude is smart. So smart that this guy's Rolodex contains most of the most powerful people in the world. Like, he knows presidents of countries, right? Like I mean, this guy, extremely, extremely influential. And why? Because he's made a lot of people a lot of money with his macro economic investing advice, right? And so he has this video that he just put out a couple days ago called the Everything Code. I highly, highly recommend that you guys watch that. It's kind of technical at points as they're talking about a lot of things, M2 money supply, what the Treasury Reserve is doing, like, and why there was this big dip recently with, and they talk about liquidity and kind of like what's happening at a macro level that impacts crypto and stock. It's phenomenal, guys. And yeah, for me, like I entirely believe with every fiber of my being, and I mean I could be wrong, but I believe that like we are definitely not done with this bull run. Like, guys, we never got typically in any sort of bubble or bull run, right? And I say bubble because that's what kind of happens is it like prices get overinflated.
Yeah,
Overinflated, right? Right. And because
Every
there's
time.
all of this greed, what happens is there's all of this greed. We have not seen that level of greed for any sort of actual bubble or top, in my opinion. Right. And in fact, right now the market is even with here's the weird thing, okay? The low of Bitcoin this last time cycle, right, was it's like 15 grand. Right. We're at like $114,000 right now. And the fear level is moderate. You would think that if we were at the top, right, that the greed level would be up there. But people are like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous about the market right now with Bitcoin sitting at $113,000. I don't see it, guys. I don't see it.
Good points. Thank you. Makes people like me feel a little bit better that that it's not over yet. Another reason why I don't think it's over is Foster's been actively promoting Banker because it's on base and OMI's on base, and he's trying to go and get it be one of those rewards for Banker because I think they have 5 other tokens that they have rewards if you mention Banker a bunch of times or you use it. Do you think anything's going on there, or is it just Foster trying to publicly just raise awareness of the token?
I think it's twofold, man. I think he wants those airdrops, right? I know Avant is one of the tokens. I don't remember the other tokens. But yeah, like, I mean, 2 things can be true, right? They don't have to be mutually exclusive. He can be like, hey, I want to get active on Banker, but then also this is an opportunity to talk about OMI and use Banker to buy OMI, using just 5 words. And I love that, right? So it's twofold. He's going to get more active, and I'm sure that he actually, I would imagine he has or starting to accumulate some Banker on there. And there a few weeks ago, I read Rain. If you guys don't know, Rain does this market analysis with this guy Paul from Definity Wednesdays, right? Rain, it's on Wednesdays. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I had asked several weeks ago. I'm like, hey, will you cover Banker? And it was really fascinating. Banker had just done this big jump up, and they were talking about it a little bit. But like, if you guys haven't ever watched that, it's so good. It's so good. Just it's cool because Paul is an expert at technical analysis, and Rain knows his stuff too. But then Rain a lot of times will provide kind of this fundamental analysis of like what's going on behind the scenes as to why sometimes these token prices jump and things. And so it really, I really enjoy it and listen to it. I can't do it live most of the time because I'm working, but man, I listen to it every week. And so Banker is it's this AI agent tied to Base blockchain, and there's been a lot of dev work on it. It's pretty phenomenal what they're doing with it and stuff. And so I think the Banker actually does have some substantial promise there. And the first airdrop that they did, I think I was reading through some chats and stuff. I think like $1,500 to $2,500 in value for some of the people who are like more active on it. I think that's pretty substantial. So yeah, like and to go with that, Randy, we might as well tie that into as Foster is tweeting out about Banker and kind of combining that with OMI. He had made this post about the perfect symbol doesn't exist, and he had like the Comi O and then the Coinbase C, and then he like merged them together. You know that meme where it's like that perfect thing doesn't exist, and then they see that, right? Like, so there's the merging of Coinbase, and so then there's a speculation is like, oh, is OMI going to get listed on Coinbase? My honest answer is I don't think so. I think that he was having fun with that, and the reason is OMI is already on Coinbase. Now, I will say this: this is the one argument that I will agree with. Is if it is actually listed on Coinbase, the liquidity is significantly higher than it is on these dexes, right? So that impacts trading volume and like swings and volatility of prices and stuff like that. So that's where it would be great if it was fully listed on Coinbase. That being said, if there's enough interest that gets peaked, it could very easily just get moved over there. Coinbase could be like, yeah, we're just gonna buy some of this and we're gonna list it up. Like and that happens. These exchanges will do that, right? So but yeah, the speculation of are we gonna get a listing soon? I'm gonna pour some water on that. I'm gonna say I don't think so. I think he was just having fun. That's a funny meme. That was great. And OMI is on Coinbase now. And you can purchase it on Coinbase with like 2 clicks,
49 states can. New York still cannot because New York sucks.
New York is the worst, man. There's so many things where they're like, we're protecting these people, and all of those people just like go outside of New York, and then do it anyways, and it's just like you're just making it more annoying for us. Yeah,
are protecting people, just not the people they say they're protecting.
They're protecting their special interests.
They're protecting their special interests, but they're not going to tell you that they're protecting their special interests. So when they overregulate like that, they are protecting their special interests, and they overregulate. And they're like, we're protecting you from yourselves, but they let you go gamble. They let you buy lottery tickets, which is like, guaranteed you lose over time. Like, if you bought all the lottery tickets, you would win every time, but you would lose half your money. So it's a guaranteed net loss with the lottery. And yet they'll let you do that. Big A made a fortune on Banker, sold his $20 Banker Club NFT this morning for half an ETH or just over $2,000 at 100x. Yeah.
Really?
It's awesome, and shame on me. Like, I mean, I'll call out Viper. He was super cool. And he was, he had reached out and was like, listen, like, Banker's going to do some cool things. Hit me up if you have questions, like this community is really awesome and they really are willing to teach and stuff. And they were pumped on it. And, I should have listened earlier, I guess is what I'm saying with that. But I'm not, but I still think the Banker, has a very strong use case going forward. And, it's kind of cool to see where that project goes.
CJ seems to think that the NFT narrative is over and people barely have money to invest, let alone buy NFTs. So at some point, we just have to admit we were all wrong and learn when to pivot. All right, CJ, you could be right on that. I'll give you about 1% chance on that. And, when you say at some point we need to admit we were all wrong, it's like, we're not at that point. I'm not wrong on this. Now, I had lots of people tell me that in 2020, when everything I'd invested in was down. And they're like, you should just sell it and you should take all your money because it's not going to happen. And there were all these reasons. I mean, COVID, oh my gosh, the world is going to shit. Why are people going to buy crypto? We're all going to be dead in 3 months. And all these reasons why it was never going to happen. And then it did. So it probably feels like that, CJ. It probably feels like you're right. And there is a slight chance you're right. But when more money pumps into the system, the velocity of money is going to increase tremendously. And you're going to see asset prices go like crazy. Now, I was talking to a friend of mine who went to law school. He's a brilliant guy. And he says, the hard thing is when you're trying to explain arguments to somebody who doesn't understand the argument yet, they don't understand those principles. They can't conceptualize it first. So you might be laying it out perfectly, but they just can't understand what you're saying because their thinking isn't there yet. I run into that. I remember trying to talk to some good friends about crypto in 2020, and they're like, I know about crypto, and I have some ETH, and no, I'm not interested. No, not interested at all. And they couldn't get it. And they had to watch how things played out. So their mind expanded and been like, oh, I'm going to look deeper at this. Oh my gosh, maybe there's some things I'm not understanding here. When they look deeper, they're like, oh my gosh, why couldn't I see this before? I think that's probably what's going to happen for you here, CJ. But I appreciate your thoughts. Maybe you're right.
I just have to call out what Sarah said because Randy was just crapping on New York, how it's the only state that's not allowed. And then he has an I Love New York t-shirt on, the iron.
Laundry day.
Listen, New York, the state and the government does some pretty stupid things. But the actual, I love New York, man. There's so many, I love visiting New York. It's one of my favorite places to visit. The food is amazing. Central Park is incredible. Just the New York attitude most of them are pricks, at least in Manhattan. You know what I mean?
They're funny though.
They are funny.
Like Doc wearing his Boston stuff there. Like people stop and they share their thoughts and they have fun with it. Like that's what I liked about him is they just are willing to joke and just call things out and have fun. It is a different breed there, and it's fun that they grew up voicing their thoughts so loudly.
Yeah, I legitimately had people, more than one, when I'm wearing my hoodie and hat, and someone's like this guy in particular that sticks out. He's sitting at this park bench, and he's like, "Hey, come here." And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "I will literally walk with the store with you right now and buy you nicest Yankees hoodie and the nicest Yankees hat ever if you'll just throw that in the garbage." And I was like, never. And in fact, then I was just kind of brushing it and making it look all nice, it's shiny. And I was like, "Go Sox!" And by the way, 3-1, 3-1 a day. So that felt pretty good for the Sox against the Yankees. So that's good. Feels good.
Wild card games only one game?
No. What? No.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought, to get into the wild card. Well, there's 2 wild cards, right?
So there's at least 3 games right now, right? So they just had one today, right? You got tomorrow, and then you've got Thursday. Those are wild card games. So
I guess what I'm thinking of is, in order to get the wild card, because I know there's 2 of them, and in order, if there's a tie between 2 teams, then they have a playoff to see who actually gets the wild card. Unless I'm tripping.
Sorry.
I know that I know the actual series is a best of 3. Same with division series and all that, but the other thing, the division series, is actually best of 5.
So best of 3 for the wild card is what that is, right? So if the Sox win tomorrow, they're in. So we'll see how this goes. But listen, we've at least got 2 more games, so it's great. It's always great to win that first one, man. Just relieve some of the pressure off you, a little bit, and then you can kind of focus and train more. But listen, actually, guys, with that, I probably be Kuma. The answer is yes. Rain and I are planning on going to Vegas, unless plans have changed with you, Rain. But
I'm going.
Yeah. So with that, though, gentlemen, I got to take off. I'm coaching my adult gymnastics class tonight. Looking forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Sour D, how dare you again? Yankees in 3. It's not happening, man. It's not happening. But that's what I love. See, and this is the fun thing about having the fun banter that happens when you have this team, right? That you're passionate about and things like that, and you don't let it get out of hand. It's super fun to talk crap on people, and the Yankees are so easy to talk crap on. Oh, I just love it. They spend all this money and they're still just not they just are not that great. So, anyways, all right, I'm out, fam. But I've enjoyed the discussion tonight. It was a lot of fun. So, take it easy.
Love you, Doc.
Yeah, Doc is right. I did have a ton of fun in Manhattan. I didn't expect it would be near as cool and fun as it has been. I've been there a couple times now, and downtown is amazing, Manhattan, and like the people were fun. I found them so fun and so cool. You know, I heard like, oh, New Yorkers are rude and this and that. I found them fun and engaging. I didn't, you know, maybe there was a rude person. I don't even remember. I just remember people kind of talking their mind and just having fun banter with a bunch of people.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll be there in I think 8 days. 1, 2, yeah. I'll be there on oh no, 9 days. I get there on Thursday night. I leave on Saturday, and I was originally supposed to go to Vegas, which I still am, but I got an email. Spirit canceled my flight, canceled Sparky's flight. They canceled like thousands of flights. There's a bunch of people that were left stranded over the last day. So I have to rebook those flights, and then I have to. I'll be back in Orlando in December, I think, as well. Talk to you about that offline. A lot of fun things. There's no VeVe stuff in December. There's we got October and November. I have to tell Taps make sure he's coming to DCon.
Well, let's talk about the crypto market because, like, you know, CJ brings up some points that it's good to talk about. Like, that is common sentiment that CJ is saying. There's a lot of people thinking that NFTs aren't going to happen this season, that what has happened is going to be what's happened, and that Bored Apes and stuff, some money has come into them and pumped the floors some, but it's like, and the question is like, why are people going to spend so much on these NFTs when the economy is hurting? Well, it's always when the economy is hurting that they flip to quantitative easing and they bring the interest rates down. And this pumps a lot of money into the system so that asset prices go up. So there was a big recession when I graduated from the university and stock prices were in the tank and they cut interest rates tremendously. This fueled the housing market tremendously, like crazy. And then it fueled most of the rest of the economy too and turned things around. So is he right about credit card debt being higher than ever? Yes, he is. And so he's right on a number of these metrics. The conclusion is then, well, nobody will have money for crypto. Funny, it doesn't work that way because what they'll do is they'll change where some of their money is because they'll still have 401ks and many of them will be able to redirect that into crypto. You'll also have big institutions change some of their holdings, that they'll sell some stocks. Like a lot of boomers have stocks that they'll be seeing the value of those stocks declining and they'll be like, you know, stocks are going down and down and down. I don't know when it's going to stop, and they will FOMO into crypto. And this is why the pendulum swings too far each way. And you think, gosh, it feels like it'll never happen. And that I can agree with. It does feel that way. But I've almost learned that when you're feeling that, that's like the opposite is what's going to happen. So I make sure, and I've been trading what I call cyclical markets for 25 years now. So before crypto, I did real estate investing in specific markets that had this over boom and over bust principle because they were the best. Because you could buy when things had over busted and you could hold it till it over boomed and you could make much higher than normal gains. And so crypto is even better than that because you don't have to deal with renters. You don't have to deal with a mortgage payment. You can buy some even with whatever extra money you have on the side and you can just wait it out. Now, some of what you buy may fail. And that's, if you think of this as early stage business investing, that's what I think of it as, because that's kind of what it is. Some people play on the more speculative things like meme coins and stuff. I don't play in that market. I look for specific businesses. They're 2 to 6 years old. They have strong things that I think, okay, this is a strong narrative. This business idea has good potential for a great runway, at least till the coming bull market, if not longevity after that. VeVe being one of my favorites because I think digital collectibles are going to be a huge thing. And it might not feel like that to you because they're not a big thing yet, but they are going to be a big thing. We saw the first of that in 2021. And that was somewhat predictable. I thought NFTs were going to be a big thing before they were. And 2021 confirmed it. Some people are like, oh, that's a fad. It's never going to happen again. Oh, yes, it's going to. And the reason is because social flexes are a big deal. And more people will be wanting to digitally social flex. It hasn't been a big thing. But why does somebody pay $4,000 for a Louis Vuitton purse? Because they like V and L on their purse? No. Is it really that much better made than like the $200 purse? No, not meaningfully. It's the social flex, it's the status associated with it. And the same will be with some premium digital collectibles from the standpoint of like, oh my gosh, this is super, like there aren't very many of this Spider-Man. This is the first Spider-Man on the blockchain. Oh my gosh, it's a secret rare, and look what you can do. Oh my gosh, it's the first Batman on the blockchain. And there's only 8,000 of these, and I have 3 of them. Like nobody else has these. And so there will be a social flex behind it because that's why I've gravitated towards VeVe, because what is essential on giving you a better probability of success with this type of thing is brands that everyone loves. And at first they really just had Batman and a few other like Tokidoki brands and stuff, but then they got Disney and then Marvel and Star Wars. And these are brands that everybody loves. Like so many people love, like especially Star Wars and Disney. And so I think the first of some of these collectibles are going to be a really big thing on the future. Now, is that a guarantee? No. There aren't guarantees in this space. If you were buying baseball cards in 1942, there was actually a strong chance that Topps was going to fail that year. And yet they did survive. They had some things go very bad for them. And those or the 1952 in that season, and out of 1952 Topps packs came a Mickey Mantle rookie card, which today is one of the highest selling baseball cards in the world. It goes for millions if it's in really, really good condition. And Topps like almost failed during that. Like baseball cards weren't yet a huge thing yet. And so is digital collectibles going to survive? I think VeVe's got enough revenue that they can make it till a bull run. I think in a bull run, I think this goes crazy. Now, I shared my very real concerns with their pricing strategy. Do I think they're going to survive even if they don't change that? Yes, I think they'll survive even if they don't change it. I wish they would, but we'll see. They might have some constraints that they can't change that. And if they do, I'm aware that there might be those. I'm just not aware if there are those. But if they do have the flexibility to change that, either lower the number of editions further, or preferably keep the editions the same, lower the price. That's what I'd rather see.
Agreed. To CJ's point, I have had multiple people message me and say, hey, I sold my OMI. I don't think it's going to do anything. If it hasn't run by now, it's not going to. Bull market's almost over. And I'm not saying that these people aren't smart people. Some of them are, but the consistent theme that I've seen is that they don't have experience in crypto, and how they make their money is not in investing. How they make their money professionally by trade is doing other things. And it's like, okay, you could have, one of the smartest theoretical physicists in the world, but if you ask them a question about biology, he might, or poker, like whatever, he might think about it like a physicist. Or if you show, even within the medical field, you show an oncologist an X-ray, he's going to see cancer. If you show they're just going to think of what their specialty is, and if it doesn't happen in a certain amount of time, or if it's just not their specialty, they're just not going to get it. And I'm not saying that that's you, CJ. I'm just saying that's just the theme that I've seen, and that's just the common denominator. I would also say to every single one of us has like the fishbowl that we're in, where I have my network and my group of friends, and you have yours, and everyone has their own. I don't want to say what type of people are around you. Are they living paycheck to paycheck? Do they have enough and they scrape together like a vacation every year? Or are they, apparently not, because if you say that nobody's able to afford anything, a lot of people in your network probably are not in the 1%, or they're not in a position in which they have extra capital. But be advised, there are many that are. And again, just in the US, I don't know how many millions of millionaires there are. And just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean you have a bunch of liquid cash. It just might mean what your net worth is. But even, and it's not including the people that have an extra 100K to 900K to their name, not millionaires, but you can go in and throw in 50K to something and do some damage. And I mean that in the best way. You could go into a project, let's say like Definity. I don't think you can throw in 50K because the liquidity is not there, and you throw in 50K, you might only get like 30K worth of stuff.
You would have to throw it in like $250 increments.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of money out there that hasn't come in yet. And what you were talking about before with the rates being cut, they'll cut again, and they'll cut again next year. And although we might not want to wait till May, I definitely don't. Is that what we're going to have to do? Maybe. Hopefully something moves before then for one of us. But
yeah, it'll start moving sooner than that. And the fact that there's so much despair right now, despite the market actually being quite good, like it's just pulled back a little bit. If you zoom out, you look at the charts, and it's doing 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's been doing it for quite a while. And the fact that the fear and greed index, the fear is so high, that's actually a huge bullish sign. Now, what's funny is I've been studying cycle markets since I was a kid. So I was fascinated by this idea of 2 things. Number one, I wanted to be rich because I realized my dad started a family early. He did go back and finish school, but he already had kids, and like they were always behind the curve. They had a bunch of kids. When I say we were too poor for Kool-Aid, like literally we were. So we'd go to the commissary and buy food for the month. My mom would, and we couldn't get Kool-Aid because Kool-Aid was too expensive. She'd get 2 Flavor Aid packs to last the whole month. That we would, twice in the month we would get to have Flavor Aid, but not Kool-Aid because it was too expensive. And so, like, I grew up in, like, you don't know you're poor when you're a kid. You just but when I really learned that we were poor is I was at a school, and I was pretty popular at this school, and I loved my life there. And my parents were like, oh, we're going to have to move. And I was like, I don't want to move. And I was like, oh, Dad's job is moving. So it's like, well, why doesn't he quit his job? Well, because we would go broke. We, and have to find a new job. And it's like, well, I don't want to move. It's like, well, we have to because his boss says we have to. And I realized no money equals no choices, no options in life. So then I started to think, well, how do you get rich? Like, how come some people are rich and other people aren't? And I learned they learn to think about things differently than what poor people are. And a lot of the rich weren't born rich. They made it happen. So I was like, well, if all these people made themselves rich, what do they know that I don't know? I started asking myself those questions. I started thinking about money. And then I learned that some people learn how to make their money make money for them. I thought, that's the best thing in the world. I don't want to have to manage hundreds of employees. I don't want to be somebody's boss all the time. How do I make my money work for me? So I started watching things that increased in value, just looking at patterns. What's funny about these cycle markets, and there's a lot of them, so there's a lot of factors that go into it, like supply and demand, but literally your emotions tell you to do it wrong. What I realized with these cycle markets is really 95% of people do it wrong. That they don't make, now 89% in crypto specifically lose money or don't make money. Like 89%, that number is absolutely terrible. So if you think out of 100, 89 do bad. And when I got started in 2017, I thought, no, that won't apply to crypto because this technology is going to change the world. Everyone's here going to make money. And I did from 2017 to 2021. I changed my finances for forever, but most people didn't, although a few other people did. And I really dug into, what did I do differently? What did these other people do differently? And it wasn't luck, because we all did the same things, and they were very different than what everyone else was doing. That number one, we weren't chasing green candles. Like, I oversimplify it into, like, what I see most people do wrong is they chase green candles. And there's a lot of reasons why we want to chase green candles. Like there's a lot of people selling their high risk altcoins which haven't moved yet, so they can move to where the action is, which is Bitcoin. That is a perfect example of chasing green candles. I say buy when it's boring. Like, guess what? Blockchain gaming right now is very boring in that nobody is buying it, nobody's talking about it. In other words, that narrative is very boring right now. Blockchain gaming is going to change the world. This idea of ownership, when coupled with gaming and good games, is going to change everything. And the amount of money that's going to come into video games is like nobody has ever seen. And Axie Infinity was just the start of that. Axie Infinity, not my type of game at all. I literally tried to play it for like 2 days. I wanted to peel my eyes out. It was so painful to keep playing after that long because it's not the type of game that I like. And yet my investment in Axie Infinity did tremendously well. Why? Because this idea of ownership is powerful beyond belief. You bring true ownership into games, it's going to change the amount of money that gets invested in games. You will see big millionaires starting corporations, putting serious investment into things, building things. You see it with like some of it with some of these guilds like EVE Online, which isn't a blockchain game, but there is money being traded on the black market. You see it with World of Warcraft and all these servers set up in China that, you know, they were having prisoners supposedly playing World of Warcraft to earn gold, and then they were selling the gold on the black market. Like the amount of economics that will happen in these video games is tremendous. And it's going to be so much more once blockchain really embraces you being able to exchange that value and truly capture the ownership of it. Now, what's funny is there's a lot of resistance to, oh, NFTs in video games. A lot of gamers like, that's so stupid. What they don't realize they're saying is, no, I don't want to own my stuff, which is the dumbest argument ever. They don't realize that's the argument that they're making because they have been sold this idea that NFTs are ruining the world. And there were some things during 2021 where some of these games launched some stupid NFTs that don't make sense, sold them for way too high. And a lot of people that bought them felt burned, and it left a bad taste in the mouth because the pricing strategy, like Gala Games, it's like if you bought this legendary spider tank or whatever, it's like $12,000, which allowed you to earn a greater percentage of tokens when you were playing that game. And the economics didn't make sense at all. Like people who bought that totally got burned. And that was in my opinion, a cash grab by Gala Games, and that kind of stuff burns people out. Well, that doesn't mean that you put Call of Duty, a game like Call of Duty or something, and you put in their skins and other things that people can earn, and some will be really cool and really exclusive, that won't have a social flex value that could take that value of the skin to $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. We even see that with Counter-Strike Go, because they do somewhat have ownership in Counter-Strike Go. You don't own your account, but you can sell your items within the Steam marketplace. And some of those from their loot crates or loot boxes that you buy go for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of those knife skins and gun skins, and they only have partial ownership for this. So this idea of full ownership in blockchain games, also digital collectibles, is going to revolutionize things in a way that a lot of people are missing. But it's going to be a big deal. And those who can't see it yet, they'll get it later. And unfortunately, they'll come late to the party. They won't be able to get the gains that come from being early to this party. Now, the downside of being early to this party is if you don't get the bigger picture, you get burned out by everyone selling this is done, this is never going to happen, and you're going to sell at a loss, and you're going to make up part of that 89% that loses money or makes no meaningful money. And I do try to help people learn to do the things that the 5% do. And a great number of people hear this message, and some people it just bounces off of them. Just is what it is.
There's a couple more comments here before we get going. CJ, glad to see you took that super well, and I hope we're invested in some of the same things, because I know the stuff I'm invested in. It makes such little sense that you have some meme coins that are outperforming tokens like Definity. It just makes so little sense. And what Raoul Paul says all the time is that revenue generating companies are going to be the next big thing. And I know I pointed to Definity a lot just because it has like a $3 million market cap. But same thing with VeVe. You know, they do hundreds of thousands per month. And is all of that profit? No. Obviously, you have licensors you have to pay, you have workers you have to pay. But the margins are pretty heavy just because of what they do in the industry that they're in. They don't have to worry about shipping. It's infinitely scalable. And then VeVe as well. Like all of these, I think will do extremely well. And again, maybe I'm wrong. If you were to ask me back in March, hey, is now a good time? Be like, well, you know, it's they're down as low as they've been, and you know, I had an extra 10 grand. I'd put some in. Obviously, I would have been wrong on the timing because now pretty much everything since then has gone down. But what am I going to do next week when I get a little payday? I'm going to dollar cost average. How long will I do that for? I don't know. As long as it keeps coming in, I'll keep getting more.
That's the really hard thing to tell us in the timing. It's like, look, is it really easy to identify the timing? No, it is really difficult to identify the timing. The Rothschilds been investing for centuries, and you know what they say? Well, we never end up buying the bottom, we never end up selling the exact top, but generally we buy low and we sell high, and that's all you can hope for. Like, I wish I had a magic crystal ball and I could know exactly where the bottom is and then exactly where the top is. And if I had that magic crystal ball, it would have made $1 billion in 2021. But I don't have that magic crystal ball, so I just have to generally buy when things are too cheap, hope that the company survives, try to use research to tell me which things have the best chance to possibly survive, and then take those risks, and then wait till everyone's talking about how it's the next big thing, and then sell it. Like what's funny about the land in Axie Infinity is I use this lesson because it's an easy one. There were a lot of things that I bought, but this one's an exceptionally funny one because, like, part of the reason that investment did so well is it went through the awareness curve. Like, nobody in crypto knew Axie Infinity from Adam. Like, if I talk to somebody about Axie Infinity, they're like, oh, what the hell is that? And it's like, oh, it's a blockchain game. Oh, like, what does that mean? It's like, well, you can actually own the stuff. And they're like, oh, is the game any good? It's like, well, actually, not my style at all. It's kind of okay. It's a turn-based game. I don't like turn-based games. And they're like, oh, okay, how many people are playing it? Well, not very many people are playing it. Oh, so why is it going to do well? Because this idea is big. Okay, and I put $4,100 into it, and for the next like 18 months, it went down. It probably went down to about $800 in value. I was like, man, shoot. And my wife was giving me crap. And then over the next 6 months, it went down to about what I put into it, about $4,000 in value. Then over the next 3 months after that, it went to 400,000, at which point I exited. The next 6 months after that, it went to about 12 million. It's like, oh, well, that was interesting. But it went through the awareness curve too. Like, nobody in the crypto space knew about Axie Infinity. Now everybody in the crypto space was talking about Axie Infinity, and that's part of the extra gains. So I tend to invest in things that I think have a solid narrative that might come into the general crypto spotlight that almost nobody in the crypto space is talking about now or aware of. And then, but I think they have a strong potential to get massive awareness within the entire crypto space. So that those are some extra gains, because some people will just play it safe, and you can do pretty well playing it safe, buying Bitcoin. Generally, when it's low, you might have dollar cost average into Bitcoin at 30,000. And now you're quite a bit up, which is nice. You know, you're at 100, bounce between 110 to 120,000. So you might be 4x up, which is tremendous, but that's not the kind of life-changing gains you can make if some of your stuff does 100x. And that's why particularly I'm in the risky stuff. I do appreciate some additional comments from CJ filling us in a little bit more about him. Opportunity cost is a real thing, and you're exactly right. And I appreciate, I can tell by the words you're choosing and how you structure them that you're not new to investing at all, right? So you share a little bit more about you've invested in rental properties, Bitcoin miners, and Bitcoin, which are safer bets, right? Like, I don't like Bitcoin miners just because I'd rather just buy Bitcoin generally when it's low. But Bitcoin miners is a way to make money. It's getting harder and harder with the competition, but if you run it well, like, yeah, and it's just, it is a type of business that has certain risks, but generally certain returns too. And it's more steady and stable. I wouldn't use for Bitcoin miners, but it's a type of business. Now, rental properties, I'm pretty familiar with, unfortunately, because I know the pain with renters. If you have higher, nicer properties, usually can attract better quality tenants, but your rental rate per the price of the home is usually not quite as high, but your headaches are less. Appreciation might be as big or better. What I like about crypto is the potential for, over a 4-year period, 10x, 20x, 100x. Something really, really hard to do in the real estate space. And in the real estate space, you're always dealing with renters, which is what I let go of. So 2021, I sold the last of my real estate stuff and went all in on crypto, because prior to that, real estate was the place that I was like, you can go from poor to rich over a period of time. Crypto, you can go to poor to rich faster, but only if you're doing things right. And the funny thing about rentals and real estate, you're probably successful at these, CJ, but if you look around, you probably know a ton of people that have tried it and been very unsuccessful, and didn't make it past their first couple of years because they probably bought at the height of a bull market and got liquidated or went upside down during the bear market of real estate and lost all their stuff.
Agreed.
Huge opportunity with AI data centers. True. Hyperscalers are partnering with miners. Good points. Great points, actually. Yes, and Gala did a number of cash grabs. I'm not a big fan of one of the partners there and his pricing strategy. Like, he did this big cash grab, and then he like derided those. He's like, if you bought this for an investment, you're stupid. And I was just like, yeah, if anyone trusted you, they're stupid. And not that like why else are they going to pay $12,000 for like a legendary spider tank NFT? What, because they think, a purple color on the thing is worth $12,000? Like, no, they were doing it because they hoped it would go up in value. And the guy made a number of weird choices. I was like, eesh, I don't like this guy. Now, some of the other partners, Gala, I like, but the guy particularly running the games and overseeing that stuff, no, I don't like that guy.
There's a when he was, well, thank you for the super chat. We love you, CJ. So AI for me is hard because I don't really understand a lot, and I'm super deep into it as well, but it's hard for me to discern which AI companies are good and which are bad, and that's why I didn't get into banker. It's like, okay, the technology is awesome. To be able to buy OMI in like 6 words on Twitter is amazing. But my thought process was, okay, if we're able to do this with banker, how long until like anyone else should be able to code this or have it in the way that they have? Why is it special? And and a couple of people that told me about it, again, their just strengths weren't really necessarily in investing. They liked it because it was cool, but I know even in the VC area, you show them something that they have no knowledge in, and it's from someone that has a decent amount of knowledge in a subject, but they just happen to be really good salesmen. They're like, we can do X, Y, and Z, we can do this. And whether they lie or not, it's like, no other company is doing this. You're right, no other company is doing this right now. What's to stop them from going and doing exactly what you're doing in a more efficient way? And I just wasn't able to discern that banker was just way ahead of everyone else in that. And maybe that still happens. Obviously, in the short term, there are some gains there that I missed out on. But that was my thought process and why I didn't. And it's still early. There's still a pretty low market cap compared to other stuff. I'm gonna take a look at them right now. I think they're actually still under $100 million market cap.
Yeah. So sometimes when they run up tremendously like that, things don't run up for forever. So unless the bigger DeFi narrative hits, will it continue? The higher it's gone from where it was, the riskier it gets. And so some people look at that price and they're like, oh, it's gone up so much, it's just going to keep going up. I think the reverse has gone up so much. I feel like the risk is getting higher and higher and higher. And that's why I oversimplify it into never chase green candles, or don't chase both boats that you've missed. And if you miss getting on that boat, when Big A got on that boat where he bought the NFT for $20, he's now taking profits on it, which is a smart sell. He's got 100x on it. That is a great exit point. Now, could it go another 10x from there? It could, but now your risk is way higher than when he paid $20 for it, and your potential returns are lower. Like, what is the token, if you buy the token, going to do for you? If it's gone up tremendously, the token price gone up tremendously, what is it going to do from here? Now, it does have a token associated with it as well, right?
Yeah. That's the coin that has. We talk about Banker still, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's $47 million market cap.
Yeah. And
so it's still pretty low in where it could be when an AI narrative takes off. And again, the use case is great. They give rewards. I think it could do really well.
So it's Banker Coin.
Yeah. It's BNKR.
Yeah.
And once it's take a look at that.
So since it's come out, it's gone down like this, and probably there's some token vesting going on. So this is a lot of what we do on Wednesdays with Paul. People can suggest, once we go through the ones that we have on the schedule already, we go through and look, at the price action. There's not a lot of price action. Like, Paul wouldn't have much to go on here. There's not enough history because it just barely came out. I don't like to buy in this type of environment. New projects like this, they're just too unpredictable as to what they'll do. This is why specifically I learned some lessons through the 2021 bull market and the bear market that preceded it, that I like companies that are 2 to 6 years old, where a lot of their token investing has already happened. They've been completely punished by the bear market, and their price is cheap versus what I feel the fundamental strength of the project is. That's what I look for, because I don't know how to value this. The token just came out. Its market cap is at 48 million. Is this expensive? Is this cheap? I have no idea. It would be hard, even if I listen to the founders, to evaluate, is this cheap? It's better when you have some price action for a year and a half, 2 years, 5 years to look at and be like, okay, is it cheap? Now, in an AI narrative, if they stay in the narrative, by staying in the narrative means people with really big crypto YouTube channels and Twitter accounts talk about them all the time, then sure, it could go to $1 billion market cap. But fundamentally, what are the fundamentals behind making this stable? Okay, they were first to come out with, you type some things in Twitter and it buys crypto for you. Okay, that's a cool gimmick. Is there more substance behind the cool gimmick? Because if not, that doesn't justify $1 billion market cap. Some people say, yeah, but XYZ meme coin has a $5 billion market cap. It's like, you're right, it does. It just shouldn't. It does, because enough people have gotten behind it and speculated on it, just like lotteries sometimes get to $1 billion total payout. Doesn't mean they should, they just do. So I like to take things where there's better predictability than something like where Banker is at. And that doesn't mean it can't go up from here. I just can't tell you if it's expensive or cheap at this price. There's not enough information to go on. So I like to go off things like Ecomi, where the price went to 1.4 cents during the previous bull market, is now trading at 98% down from there. Digital collectibles have been solidly out of the narrative, yet this is the lead player in the digital collectibles narrative. And if the digital collectibles narrative comes back, and I strongly think it will, it's as long as they can survive, and they do have revenues coming in, they have lots of good things going for them, I think they'll survive. Then the token likely is going to experience some huge momentum as everyone starts talking about the major player in the digital collectible space. And do you have any OMI token yet? And, we start seeing OMI talked about by all the big crypto YouTube channels late in the game. Keep in mind, Say the price goes to 2 or 3 cents. That'd be a great exit place, terrible buy place. And that's another reason why so many people do poorly in crypto is they just watch these essentially bigger news channels and they buy the tokens that are being talked about. But those tokens are talking about them when the price is already pumped tremendously. And that's a bad buy time. That's a great sell time. And so, like, buy low, sell high is the number one principle of any type of investing. And if you're buying something when all the major channels are talking about it, you're buying it high, hoping it goes higher. And generally, that works out poorly for most people.
Big A said Banker had a huge month last run after the Coinbase listing. And this is why I feel like listings are definitely not the end all be all like people want, is because it went up like 2x in like a couple of days. And now it's back down. Now, granted, the entire crypto market just took a giant dump the last 6 weeks. So that's probably a bit for that reason, for it to go back down. But I think it'll do well in the, just because of the narrative, it's got a big community. Again, I don't have any. Big A says he needed more base tokens, so he went and bought a bit. I'm really curious on how well that social network does on the new like base app. What are they? I haven't streamed on there or anything. Rain, have you checked anyone out on there?
No.
Yeah. Same.
I think Base is going to be one of the chains that survives. There isn't a token for them yet. I wouldn't be surprised if Coinbase launches one at some point. Who knows? But I think Coinbase is an experienced player that knows all the other players in the space. I tend to like projects that they invest behind, like Gods Unchained. I was an early buyer in their blockchain game, essentially kind of cards, like they're an online version of a card game. And that's what spawned Immutable X was Gods Unchained. It used to be on ETH, but ETH prices went up so high, they launched their own chain, Immutable X. And if you bought the Genesis packs with Gods Unchained, they airdropped to you a whole bunch of Immutable X tokens. And they moved to the Immutable X chain. But when Coinbase is the backer, it tends to go well. And I think the Base ecosystem is going to do tremendous, is my guess. Really quick, Bill Gardner says, I choose to be in all of them. Safe bet, safest bet, rentals, property management, Bitcoin mining, altcoins, NFTs, digital land. I'm mostly in the riskier stuff. And the reason is like, so I was listening to somebody talking about overall, and they're like, you'll see billionaires and they're like, oh yeah, I have 5% allocated into crypto. And it's like, when you're already at $1 billion, billions of dollars, you're in wealth preservation mode. You're not trying to take risks. So if somebody is like 24 and they're working their ass off to make something out of themselves, 5% allocation to crypto isn't going to do much meaningful for you. I mean, it will outperform all your other assets, which you don't have any assets at that price. So what are you going to put the other 95% into? Like bubblegum? Like, you don't have a lot. And so, like, I was rebuilding after a divorce that crippled me. It took me 7 years just to get back to zero. And the divorce was like lots of lawyers. Like, it was sad that it had to go so rough. It didn't need to, or I wish it didn't need to, but it needed to. By the time it was done, I just had a bunch of debts left and no assets left, and was digging out of that hole when I found crypto. So I was like, well, and I bought some properties, but I was in the business, so I knew how to buy them cheap and was building equity into them. It's not like I put hundreds of thousands of dollars into them down. I was living at the time for a drug property I bought in the worst neighborhood in the city that I was in. The worst neighborhood. It's called the War Zone. In that neighborhood is called the War Zone. It's called the War Zone for a reason, because it's not safe. And I bought this drug property for $20,000 that, the guy who had owned it was selling drugs out of it and got busted by the police, and they boarded it up and everything. And I bought it for $20,000. And I was just putting money into it and rehabbing it while I lived in it. And then, met my wife and somehow convinced her to move into the drug home with me, like the really cheap rental. And we lived there together for a year before we moved into a safer neighborhood. I was just I was just building back. And when I found crypto, like I was like, oh, so, but over the next few years, I did, had a fourplex with a partner, and uh, we flipped a couple homes and made some money there. But I was still building back, and I thought, you know what? Nothing is like crypto compared to here. So I went all in for the most part. I put everything new into crypto once I really saw what was going on with it, starting in 2018. It's 2018, 2019, 2020. I worked as hard as I could, threw every extra penny into crypto. And I was new at it. I was looking for a guide that knew things better than I did, and I couldn't find that. So I probably made a lot more mistakes than I would have liked to make, because I was looking for a guide that understood what the hell to go in here, that had lots of experience. And I wasn't finding that. So I wish I hadn't made as many mistakes. But even with all the mistakes I made, the returns were amazing, because this space is amazing. If you're buying when it's boring, you don't chase into green candles, and you're buying fundamentally strong projects that are out of the narrative, that everyone's saying they're dead, just because the narrative hasn't been talked about for a long time. And so you're buying at a really cheap price. I remember it was like September 2023, I think. And I was analyzing this blockchain gaming and Myria, and the token price was just going down and down and down and down. And someone's like, nobody's going to buy Myria till they launch a game. And I was like, that's not true. It doesn't need a game to launch. It just needs the narrative to pump. And then like one big YouTuber, crypto YouTuber, talks about how blockchain gaming is the next big thing. And then a whole bunch of other ones pile on. Blockchain gaming takes off, and Myria does like a 15x, and no new games came out. Nothing else really happened except blockchain gaming fell in the narrative, and the price went crazy. And, when that person put that comment, I was like, nothing's going to happen until the launch of the game. And I'm like, you're not right on this. All that happens to happen is standard pump. And like I was proved right a month later. That's exactly what happens. Like, we'll see with the digital collectibles narrative when this runs, but it is going to run. This is a big narrative that's going to run tremendously at some point, and it's probably not that far away. A lot of people say it's really not going to happen until next year. I don't be so sure. I think November and December this year are going to be good. I do believe that a lot of the bull run is going to happen next year, but that doesn't mean November and December aren't really strong for crypto.
Don't do that. Don't give me hope.
A good point, Crypto. If I loved OMI at 1/10 of a cent, I should definitely love it now. Exactly. Like, it's even cheaper now. And that's the beauty of dollar cost averaging. Like, sure, do I wish I could go back and all the times I bought it at a higher price than the bottom of what it was at like a month ago? Sure, I wish. I can't see where the bottom's going to be. So what I have to do is dollar cost average. In the last bear market, one of the ones I dollar cost average into was Cardano. And I bought my first Cardano at 11 cents. And sure, I was kicking myself when it went to 9 cents. And then I bought some more and 7 cents. And I bought some more and 5 cents. And I bought some more and 3 cents. I was pulling my hair out, what little I have. And I was like, crap, I wish I had just waited to buy it all at 3 cents. And then it bottomed out at 1.7 cents. I don't have that magic crystal ball. I knew it was undervalued, and I didn't know where the bottom would be. So I had to just buy it when it was a good price. And then it got to be a greater price, and then an even greater price, and then an even greater price. I was like, well, okay, cool.
There's, I think that we might have one more dip for OMI, because I am about to buy some more in the next week. And once that happens, I think the crypto gods will play a prank on me, like, we'll do a nice 30% dip now, and then they'll send it. But that's just my opinion, just a little headcanon that I have here. Maybe the same thing with VeVe. Although Tom did just mention that a bunch of stuff is ready to go. They're just waiting on final sign-off for VeVe. Hopefully I get to buy it before that's out.
Some insights, what CJ's talking about with miners. Most people who buy into Bitcoin mining operations don't do well. Why? Because a bunch of them, like the right people aren't running it, and like you'll often lose money. That doesn't mean that some people buying into Bitcoin mining operations don't make really good money, but you really have to vet. Just because it's in the Bitcoin mining space does not guarantee you're going to make money. In fact, I would look very skeptically. You want to be in with the best of your best. And CJ clearly knows what he's talking about here. Like, but most people buying into Bitcoin mining have lost, that I've known, have lost money. Although there's been some Bitcoin mining operations that made a ton. And so it's about buying into the right situations. The wrong ones, you're going to lose everything you invested into it. You need a baseline rate. You can't be 100% of the casino all the time. Yes, you can.
We got a plan for that, though.
You just probably die. That's what my rentals and high yields, you can, just you'll be overstimulated like crazy. But what Big A's talking about is he's got passive income through some rentals, right? So the reason I went so high in 2019 through 2020 is I was like, this is the opportunity I waited for my whole life. And I worked as hard as I could to earn as much bonus as I could, and I threw everything into crypto. I squeezed my expenses down as low as I could, put everything in, and sure, I had lots of things go bad for me. But the ones that did go good for me carried all my losses and then a whole bunch. And in one cycle, I made enough that like I don't ever have to work again. That's cool. Now, do I have passive income? No, because I rolled it all back into crypto. So it's like, yeah, I have gains, but not passive income yet. This cycle, I will be rolling into a bunch of passive income. In fact, I'm going to take half my gains.
It's going to be a great time.
That's going to be an amazing time because then half my gains I can roll it into passive income and live incredibly well off of ongoing residual income. Because if you always have it at the casino, right, it's all at risk. Right now, I have it diversified across a bunch of stuff. But if crypto goes absolutely bust because EMPs wipe out all the electronics, well, crypto is screwed. Now, probably the food supply is screwed. Probably like the whole economy and life is screwed. But crypto is definitely screwed. And so there's some risk with being all in on Bitcoin. And I was willing to take that risk again for this ride. And then after that, I'm going very diverse. Half of my stuff diversified. Half of the stuff I'll invest if crypto hits a bear market again. And it probably will, because I think we're going to go massively up next year, like massively, like crazy levels up. You know what always follows that? Crazy levels down.
I think now that most of the market's been down for like 3.5 years, once it finally goes up and it rips, I probably won't. I don't know when your buyback strategy is, but I don't think I'll buy crypto for at least 3 years, because maybe Bitcoin and ETH when it goes down. And we don't know, we're probably not going to have that 80% sell off again because so many institutions are in. But I mean, is that
institutions will panic out too? What's funny is how surprisingly irrational institutions can be, even though they shouldn't be.
Why aren't they panic selling out now?
They're buying right now.
I know, but like, I mean, a lot of other people, like we and Doc,
because behind the scenes, the amount of legislation and stuff, they're in all those rooms where the discussions about where things are going. Like Main Street has not woken up to how much is moving to blockchain, but the C-suite executives and all the institutions are very aware. They're at those conferences, they're in those discussions, and they are stockpiling. Now, as it goes up, they're then going to get too risky and they're going to over leverage, thinking it's going to go up for forever. They do. We saw that with mortgage-backed securities. Like they make stupid, irrational decisions too, and some companies will go bust with that, and then it will reverse too hard to the downside again. It just follows this cycle. Like
there's I won't say where this is from. One of the things that they mentioned when talking about these big companies says Circle successfully demonstrated their ability to generate strong revenue income through cycles, with secular tailwinds driving growth regardless of the rate environment. And then they talk about a Coinbase concentration risk, saying uncertainty regarding long-term relationship with Coinbase, how the economics may change when the deal renews, and whether Coinbase could eventually pivot away from USDC. They do think there is a massive crypto TAM opportunity. And this is old, because at the time they thought that crypto was just a $3 trillion market cap. I think now it's almost at 4 or almost at 5 or whatever it is. But when looking at real estate, which is 380 trillion, equities 110 trillion, gold 18 trillion, money 21 trillion, bonds 135, private markets 13. They're just looking at crypto like, oh shit, we have to get more into it. And these are a couple of big banks. I won't say who they are, but there are a bunch of big banks. And this was in Q1 of this year that they were all talking about this.
Yeah, they are. Like, there's big things happening. They're all going towards blockchain and crypto. And most of Main Street is not really aware of what they are.
I'm sorry,
And
this is June of this year. Sorry, keep going.
okay. The Main Street like pays attention very late. They literally just chase green candles. So there's a thing as humans we have called recency bias, and recency bias is what leads us wrong every time. And it's like we assume that what has been going up is going to continue to go up. What's been going down is going to continue to go down. It doesn't play that way. So this is a cycle market. So it's an over boom and over bust market. And within it, there's different narratives that'll boom and bust. So in a general bull market, you'll have things pop off and go 10 to several hundred X. In generally the bear market, you'll have some things sometimes pump and go 5 or 10X. Which if they do that in generally the bear market, is usually a great time to harvest some money and then buy it back cheaper because it's still going to be the bear market for a while. Or just continue to hold it, but don't follow in a bear market when something goes up 10X because it's probably going to retrace back down. And you're just waiting for the greater bull market when it goes ballistic. And you'll know when it goes ballistic because everybody will be talking about it. And that's a good time to start exiting and selling some off. A great time to be buying is when everyone's like, crypto is terrible. And I learned this from what I realized is there's so much I didn't know, but I was like, other people have become rich and I want to know what they know. And so I was super passionate about it. And I met this guy that was worth about $200 million and he was in Phoenix. And so I had a real estate license. I went to work at his brokerage because I was like, oh, he's a broker and he has a brokerage. And he would do these investment workshops for free. And I would absorb as much of his time as he could. And he's like, it's really kind of simple when I'm deciding where I'm going to buy real estate is I go in and I go and get my hair cut and, just whatever random haircut place. And I ask the people there, like, what's going on with real estate? And if they're all like, oh, real estate's terrible, it's horrible. And he's like, that's what I want to hear. That's the music to my ears. Because generally when I want to be buying is when everyone's saying how terrible it is. So if I go in, everyone's talking about how their sister and their brother are all making money in real estate. He's like, I know to steer clear of that market. It's too late. The gains have already been made. And what he was really saying is don't chase green candles. You want to buy when it's boring. You want to buy when everyone's saying how much it sucks, how terrible it is. What's the common sentiment on OMI? Oh, it's terrible. It's never going to survive. Well, tell me why it's never going to survive. Well, because it should have already pumped by now. Why should it have already pumped? It's a high-risk altcoin, and the general, high-risk altcoins haven't pumped this cycle. Yeah, but what if they don't pump this cycle? Well, cool. I mean, what if the sun doesn't come up tomorrow? But generally, since 2017's bull run, is the higher-risk altcoins pump later in the cycle. Bitcoin does the run first, then it rolls into ETH and some other things. Then the low-cap market coins pop off and go crazy. We're not there yet. 2021, same thing happened. So we're in that part of the cycle yet. Bitcoin's had some gains. It's rolled a little bit into ETH and XRP and a few of the bigger market cap ones. But these higher risk altcoins haven't popped yet. And that's okay. Like some people say, it might not happen. And they may be right. But it's kind of like if you have 3 aces in a hand in poker, you could lose that hand. But you're not likely to. And so are these high risk altcoins likely to pop up? Oh yeah. I mean, this is just playing out the same pattern we did before. And it's not yet time for the riskier assets to pop off yet. The momentum goes to Bitcoin, shifts to ETH and other things. And then all those people that made money on Bitcoin and ETH are looking for what is the next fundamentally strong thing that hasn't pumped yet. And then the money cascades into the lower cap coins. And then they blow up like crazy. It's not quite time for that yet, but it may be soon, starting in November and December.
We're hoping. Here's looking at you, kid. Got a few months left. I feel like Shadow in the Incredible Journey is like just over that mountain. straight up and over. And then there's another mountain after they get through that mountain. It's like, oh,
Yeah. Just Bill says condos are game. Been buying them up 5 to 6 years ago for like 20K. Now they have 6 since then.
damn.
Love to get a 12 like this run with the profits. Not me. I don't want to manage 12 different people, but I'm investing in some businesses that pay out ROI. And I talked to this lawyer, and they do medical claims lending. So somebody has a medical claim, and they pay out 20%. So it could take 6 months, could take 18 months to get your money back, but 20% of your money. I'm gonna invest some different things like that. So that I'm just looking to try to get 15 to 20% of my money at a minimum, and take half the money out of crypto. But I don't want to have to manage tenants. If I want to be able to go to Greece for 3 months and log into my account and be like, oh, nice. All the money was deposited. Great. And you can do that with property management. You can hire property managers and stuff. But then you have to manage the property managers, because most property managers suck.
There are companies that do it now.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
I
called
guess
property
they're,
managers.
yeah.
You have to manage the property manager. I know real estate really well too. Like I love real estate. Prior to crypto, real estate was the best way to make crazy gains over time. And it's just over time, right? Over 30 years, you can go from nothing to super rich. By super rich, a couple million, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 million. If you get lucky in timing and you start in a really highly volatile market like California or Vegas that overbooms and overbusts, and you buy when it's overbusted, and then you cash out when it booms, and then you buy back, then you might go over 30 years. You might go from 0 to 15 million. But crypto over a period of 2 cycles can take you from very little to tens of millions over 8 years, with dealing with no tenants.
Bill Gardner wants to go. He wants to go hard. 12 to 36 units, bro. That's wild.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, with that, like the rent rolls probably must be insane. But I mean, the more properties you have, the more higher chance that you get a really, really bad renter. And Bill, I think you're in Pennsylvania or Ohio. If you're in a state like New York, all you got to do is stay there 30 days, and suddenly you got squatters' rights. And it's like, bro, I would never, ever want to deal with that.
Well, Bill, somebody in this space, like the likelihood that they're going to put a bad tenant in is low. Like Bill Gardner's probably been managing tenants, and I imagine DJ as well. You get a feel for it after time, and some of his like lessons that you learn, so that you almost never put a bad tenant in there. You learn to screen really good, and you get a vibe, so you almost never put a bad tenant in. It's mostly inexperienced people, or when you hire a property manager that doesn't care like you would do, or they don't have the experience that you do, that puts a bad tenant in there. That's the problem with property managers, is they'll put a bad tenant in there for you. But when you're managing themselves and you have some experience, after a while, you develop good screening mechanisms. So you almost never, you never put a bad tenant in there. Now, some might go bad because they lose their job. They get a car accident and they don't have their claims come in for a long time and they can't pay, and you feel for them, but like you got to evict them because you have to pay the mortgage. You still need, the opportunity cost of having them not pay doesn't work for you. But yeah, putting a property management company in there that you don't run, they don't care as much as you do. And if you do run the property management company and that you hire a bunch of people, you have to train them right, and then you got to continue to manage them. So it is a good option. It's not the option I'm looking for, because I do want to be able to go for 3 months and not have to worry about calling my property management team every week and be like, okay, what'd you do with my properties? Are they rented? What'd you do on the screening? And all the follow-up question to manage the managers to make sure they're not putting stupid people in.
We have some breaking news here. We got O'Malley. I'm sorry, not O'Malley. We have Sergio that had sold his Miles Morales for $8,000. I don't know what mint it was, but yeah, I don't know how people say VeVe's dead when people be spending $8,000 in OMI too. How much is that in OMI? What is that? What are we at, 3.3?
Well, I hope he keeps that OMI. He'll probably make more with the OMI than he would have on the Miles Morales Secret Rare. Though that is a grail. That is a really cool grail, the Miles Morales Secret Rare. I
Sergio,
get lucky enough to get one on the drop, but like
25 million OMI. You got,
yeah,
not bad.
yeah, 10 cents. He did pretty good there. If OMI goes to 10 cents,
Heck, even just a 10x from here, and you have
Even-
80
even
grand.
at-
Oh my god,
even at 1 cent, right? If OMI goes to 1 cent, that's still $250,000.
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, like what's funny is like I was new in 20. I came in kind of late in the market, October 2017. So a lot of the action really happened the last little bit, November and then December and then January for some of the altcoins. Bitcoin peaked in December. Altcoins peaked in January. Some of them peaking February and March of 2018. And learned some lessons there, but I didn't come into it prepared. The truth is most come in, they come already in a bull run, like usually way late in their first cycle. They totally get wrecked. The smart ones stick around because they realize, this is a cycle market. I'm going to wait till, when prices are cheap again, I'm going to generally load up. When you're dollar cost averaging for a while, it sucks because your positions are usually going to be down. If you're dollar cost averaging when it's cheap, and it gets cheaper on you, and that sucks, but that's just part of the game. Then when it goes crazy, you're like, I'm so glad I did. But for a while, you'll be second guessing yourself, and your spouse will especially be helping you second guess yourself. And then it goes crazy, and then your spouse will think you're the biggest genius that ever walked the earth, because you are, because you were doing the right things. Not that you're a genius, you're just playing the game right.
There's a lot of,
maybe you could make the argument that you're a genius because you're playing the game right. You could say that.
I guess Big A said Sergio had sold a Miles for 15K years ago, then bought another one for like half the price 8 months ago. Dude, that's awesome. Playing the game.
Nice.
Now again, AK does some damage there. I wonder if he'll buy any other collectibles or if he'll just hodl the OMI.
Man, I love that OMI. I do think that OMI is more. I don't love that it's run up some. Like it was so cheap that I was like, this price is too cheap. It's like way too cheap. Like it's still too cheap now, but it was way too cheap. That for me, that's what provides your safety. So when I used to negotiate flip properties for a company, so put lots of advertising, we buy your houses as is. And I was the one that then would go on the appointments. I would identify what we could pay for the home and try to get it as inexpensive as possible, because the cheaper I could get it, the more safe we were towards making money. So if I paid too much for a property, not only would we not make money, we'd lose money. And so I got paid a percentage of the gains, but if we lost money, I didn't make anything. And so the cheaper we bought the property, the safer it was. The same with like OMI, and like the cheaper that you buy things, the safer you are. And so like sometimes people look at something that's gone up 10x and they feel safer because it has gone up 10x already. And it's not safer. It's at a riskier point, not a safer point, but they see things reversed. Like they don't understand the game yet. So OMI at the price that it was a month ago, I saw that as so safe of a price to buy. And it doesn't mean it's perfectly safe. Some take it to mean because the price is so punished that it's a sign that it's going to fail. That is not what it means. It means there are way more sellers than there are buyers. And that's usually because it's out of the narrative for a while. But if you could look at VeVe, and they have plenty of revenues coming in, and the IP that they have is the best in some of the best in the space. Like there's some safety that if this company runs out of money, they could probably borrow based on the revenues that they make and paint a compelling picture that they could line up additional investment money. And that's if they even needed it. And so it's like that, to me, was one of the more secure companies in the whole of the crypto space. And yet its price was so punished. That's the type of opportunity I look for. That's like, I look for bets where I feel like my chance of winning, of it surviving until the bull run and doing well, is like 70% or higher. In VeVe's case, it felt to me, or it's felt like to me, a 95% chance that survives till the coming bull market and does well. And that if I'm right and that 95% like happens, then my gains aren't just double my money. It might be 10x my money, 20x my money, might even be 100x my money. Boy, compare that to gambling, where, like even when you go to roulette and you earn, what is it called, where they spin thing roulette, right? And you put it all on black. You have little bit under 50% chance of winning. And if you win, you double your money. Well, it's like, okay, say I'm wrong on OMI and I only have a 70% chance of winning. But if I do win, it goes, say, 40x from here. Well, dude, why would you ever play roulette again? And then roulette's more immediate. That's nice. But okay, I'll be patient and let this play out for a potential 40x or 50x or maybe even 100x gain.
I think they get OMI pumping hard last month on no news. Makes it feel like come back down before it makes a leg up.
It could.
Buy is ready at 00025.
Now, the current trading pattern looks like it wants to break higher, but like there is no real news. Like I guess there was some fundamental news, but on the fundamental news, it didn't pump for like a week and a half till a week and a half later. And it's like, well, I don't know why the delay, but it was too cheap. But you're right, it could come back down to that price. Because I don't know really what drove it up to that price. So it may, and that's the hard thing when you're buying cheap. Like you're buying cheap and it could go back even cheaper because it was cheaper before. Will it? I don't know. So you have to make the case of, do I hold out for it going even cheaper, or is this cheap enough? Is the question that you're asking. And many people will hold out for it to go even cheaper, and then some will get punished by I made that mistake before. Shoot, it went up some. I'm just going to wait. And then it goes tremendously up. And sometimes I've been blessed by waiting, and it comes back down, and then I load up at that cheaper price.
Same.
Cool.
Before you, I know we're about to go off camera, but do you have a few minutes to be off camera as well after we end? Sweet.
All the secret talk about how we save the world with crypto.
To the moon.
Guys, been fun, Randy. It's been fun. Community, love you guys. This space, there's no better place to be. The kind of returns you can make if you're doing it right here, there's nothing like it. Best place in the world to be, in my opinion. And you have some fun with us along the way. Cool.
All right. Everyone, say bye-bye to Dashy. Bye-bye, Dashy. We love you.
Bye, Dashy.